who justified or at least explained why these monies were being paid in cold currency by saying she didn't know how to conduct electronic funds transfers, EFTs. She says, "Ndimdala man, into the computer." Hey, I'm an old woman. These things, they're computer and cell phone. Here's card hold cash. Hey, cash is king. 2.1 million rand. There were contractors to be paid. There was furniture to be bought. There were curtains to be made. In fact, at the end of the project, the interior decorator says she was still owed around 600,000 rand, most of which she did receive, again, in bulk cash payments. She got about 400,000 rand. To this day, she says she's owed 200,000. But you know, what's a tidy 200,000 rand between friends? She regarded Nosiviwe Mapisa Ngakula as a bit of a sister, you see. She also alleges that at some point, not only was it the former minister and the former national speaker, but her husband. And what was Charles Ngakula once upon a time? Rub your eyes, rub your eyes, rub your eyes. There it is, Minister of Police. Welcome to the Republic.
Let's walk the talk.
702.
12 after 6. I'm not alone, of course. I have an entire team of colleagues behind the scenes. Garabo responsible for our social media. We've got producer Siamtanda and Bapelile behind the scenes producing the show. KG starting the clock as he always does. And in the studio with us, we have Amo and Muteo. A very good morning to you two. As always, we start the show with a question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have someone in your life you cannot trust? Right? You cannot trust this person, not because they'll steal from you or do something, awful like that.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't trust them with any secret. Or vice versa, if you want a secret out, in the family, without using the WhatsApp group, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you want information or news to spread, this is the person you tell. They cannot keep a secret. You tell them something in confidence. Even if you tell them this stays between us, it is going to spread like wildfire. Is it a parent? Is it a sibling? A partner? A best friend? And have you ever accidentally let something slip and come to regret it because, I told the wrong person? Amo?
At this moment, I would like to say that it has to be my daughter, but she's still very young. So the secrets are still very cute. So if you're planning a surprise for somebody, make sure she's not in the room because it's going to come out. And it's going to come out the way it is. If you're planning a birthday party for someone else and you have, all these ideas, she mustn't be there because when she sees the person walk in, she will say, hey, we are doing this and this and this for you. So I'd rather not. And
she's the type to say, Mommy said I must say she's not here.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, Mama, akekho. Yeah.
So she can't be trusted. No, she can't.
So you don't tell her anything?
No.
Unless you know it's okay if it gets out.
Yes, unless I know it's okay if it gets out. Just like if you cry in front of her, she instantly thinks there's something wrong, and the teachers will know, somebody at the school will know, and they will be phoning you. So I'd rather.
Shay. How'd you explain that to the teachers at school? All right, Muteo Haripe, is there someone in your life you cannot tell anything to?
Yeah, I think there's two or three people that I never tell things to because I know the day won't end without another person knowing. There are those people that just cannot keep their mouth shut. And sometimes it just seems like it's not their fault. They just blabber it out.
And have you used it in reverse where you thought, ooh, what's the best way to get this information out?
No, I haven't, but it's a good idea actually to say there's one way to spread it. I'm going to tell so and so.
All right, I want to know, have you got that person in your life who's accidentally let one of your secrets slip or spoiled a surprise or even shared news before you were ready? I'll tell you why we're asking. Send us a WhatsApp voice note on 072 702 1702 and let us know.
Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa
On 702. Let's walk the talk.
We are walking the talk indeed. It is it's a quarter after 6 o'clock. Let's bring you up to speed now with goings on around the country. I was almost reluctant to play this, except I thought perhaps there's a lesson in it. I want you to listen to the leader of March and March. This is Jacinta Ngobese Zuma, who has now hit back at the ANC Secretary General Fikile Mbalula and the claims that he has made that this movement is a political one. Speaking at a media briefing yesterday, Ngobese Zuma rejected suggestions that March and March is linked to other political organizations in South Africa, nor, she says, is it being funded by foreign governments.
Mr. Fikile Mbalula, through the figment of his imagination, has come out guns blazing, suggesting that we are a political project yet to be properly unveiled. And on some days he claims we are a project of the IFP, some days of the MK, some days of Israel, depending on what mood he's in or what substance. Not one of the boss's press briefings seeks to acknowledge the damage and pain that they have caused to the many families from their negligence of our borders. How many more families have been destroyed because of the drugs and corrupt activities, as we have heard at the Madanga Commission? When does he apologize to the parents whose children have died because of spallershop killings or the spallershop mafias? Or are those families also political parties or political projects?
The classic logical fallacy, right? The red herring, I would say it is, where with the strawman argument, you misrepresent what the person was saying and you oversimplify their argument so as to deflect attention from what it is you want to say. But with the red herring, you introduce an entirely different topic to the subject without ever responding to what it is you are being asked to answer. So she's saying here, Fikile Mbalula has linked them to the MK party, to the IFP, to being funded by Israel. She then doesn't say yes or no in terms of the truth of that. She says, but has he apologized for this? Has he apologized for that? And so shifting the discussion and focus to something that she thinks Fikile Mbalula ought to have done correctly. And it may well be that he needs to do those things, but it doesn't answer the central allegations he has made around the associations of March and March with either political organizations in this country or indeed foreign funders.
702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa is brought to you by BCX. Built on trusted telecom business connectivity. Powered by cloud, strengthened by security, enabled by AI.
18 after 6. Mateo Khadipe, you've got a question of your own?
Yeah, I want to know from you and the 702 landers this morning, what would be harder for you to share with either a friend, family, or professional? The state of your poor finances or your personal problems, either with your partner, your kids.
Oh, I was about to say my personal problems are my finances.
Would you easily share that with someone?
Yeah, I think sometimes it's probably easier sometimes to talk about, say, relationship problems or parenting problems, because we assume we all go through those. And there is also an understanding that sometimes those are not of our own doing.
Sure.
Whereas I think when you get yourself into a bit of a hotspot financially, the prevailing view is you ought to have known better. And that I find people are a little bit more reticent to talk about because they think they will be judged.
Amui, would you take out your bank statement or freely share your household problems?
I'd rather take out my bank statement and talk about my finances with someone who is professional, who's I know
going
that
to help you.
They are going to help me, than talk about my personal problems that I can spare for my friends, my colleagues, not even like colleagues, but like close colleagues.
Is it not better to tell a professional?
But also would you tell us about your financial problems? That's the question.
Of course not.
You see,
I
she's
wouldn't.
deflecting. I see you, Jacinta.
702.
Weather.
All right, what conditions can you expect on this Wednesday? A fine, cool day in Gauteng. Temperatures in Joburg 3 to 23, Pretoria 5 and 24, Vereeniging 5 and 23. A cloudy morning expected for Cape Town, a maximum of 17 degrees. Mahikeng peaking at 23, Gqeberha 29, East London 26, and Durban 25.
EWN Traffic.
All right, Amo, let's have a first look at those roads. What are you seeing at this hour?
Well, Bongani, we start with an accident in Selby. It's on the M2 West. It happened near the Crown interchange. It's causing delays as you come out of Heidelberg Road. There's also queuing traffic, obviously, on the Mike 1 North. So this is between Boyson's Road and Car Street. Peak time delays there. And then if you're traveling in Roodepoort, we've got delays as well along the N1 North coming out of 14th Avenue. If you do see anything else on the roads, do remember that we are on WhatsApp on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Morning, Bongs. Morning, T. Morning, Linda. Same T. Bongs, that person is me. But with me, it's you don't come like my colleagues, they know. You don't come gossip about another colleague. To me, you don't come gossip because of outside. Sit here, I'm coming. I'm gonna grab that person's hands and come and say, hey, there's your ditaba there because of I don't wanna be that person at the end of the day. You know, when it turns, they will say me says that and that and that. That's me. I don't wait for that. They even know it when you don't gossip. They know. I call a spade a spade. That's me. Thanks, Bongs. Thanks, team.
Bongani the team. Anonymous today. Bongani, yo. I've got that one workmate. Yeah. The guy cannot, Bongani, keep quiet. The guy cannot keep quiet. Everything that we tell him, and I can tell you, he don't even have a way forward on his life, but to transform news to other people, that is good on. Nice show as always, guys. Have a great day.
Do you have that person in your life you simply cannot tell any secrets? Or indeed, if you want news out, that's who you call.
Start your day with Bongani Bingwa.
On 702. Let's walk the talk.
23 after 6 things you need to know at this hour. It was on this day in 1962, the Black Pimpernel was arrested. Might you have any idea who that is? None other than Nelson Mandela, the fight against apartheid entering a new and defining chapter in his life. He was arrested by South African police. He would later, of course, stand trial and be sentenced to life imprisonment and then be sent to Robben Island prison, where he spent 18 years before being transferred to other prisons. And after 27 years as a political prisoner, he was finally released in 1990, emerging not with bitterness, but with a vision of reconciliation that helped reshape South Africa. More than a decade after turning whistleblower against his former employer, Bosasa, and 9 months after entering a plea and sentence agreement for corruption and money laundering, Angelo Akritsi is now fighting a major confiscation order brought by the National Director of Public Prosecutions. The amount the state wants to recover from the former Bosasa executive, Angelo Akritsi, has been dramatically reduced. Prosecutors initially wanted to seize 1.8 billion rand, but they've now lowered it somewhat to around a measly 53 million rand, saying this will better reflect the salary and illegal benefits he received through Bosasa's corrupt activities. Umkhonto Wesizwe, the MK party, the president there, Jacob Zuma, shaking up the leadership once again in a dramatic reshuffle. This one didn't happen at midnight. Remember how we all used to wait? Yeah. I mean, what does this tell you about the MK party? So the national chairperson, Nkosinathi Nhleko, and Deputy President John Hlophe have both been removed from their leadership roles, whilst Zuma's son, Duduzane Zuma, has been promoted. The party also announced changes to the position of First Deputy President and Deputy Secretary General with immediate effect. And of course, there's no elective Congress that happens with Umkhonto Wesizwe Party. Jacob Zuma wakes up and decides today, no, actually, Amo, you're doing sport. And Muteo, you are doing traffic. Sfiso Zulu, how about you do, I don't know, a handstand? I mean, that's pretty much how the MK party works. How much is this an indication of the spaza shop that MK is? And how much does it tell you about what it took for the ANC to rein this man in when he had the reins of power? Operations have resumed at Cape Town International Airport. This is after a Kenya Airways aircraft suffered a tire failure during landing yesterday, forcing the temporary closure of the airport's main runway. The incident happened at around 3:30 when flight KQ784 became disabled on the primary runway, disrupting flights for several hours. While the runway is now fully operational again, some flight delays are still expected as airlines work to get their schedules back on track. Passengers are encouraged to check the AXA mobile app. This is the airport's company, South Africa mobile app, for the latest information. Spider-Man has done it again, this time rewriting the record books. Spider-Man Brand New Day swung into cinemas with a staggering $360 million opening weekend in the United States. It's now made it the biggest box office debut. The film edged past previous records set by Avengers Endgame in 2019. After initially being projected to earn around 355 million rand, Brand New Day exceeded expectations, proving that audiences are once more ready to see Marvel's web slinger back on the screen. And I wonder if it's one of those movies that might revive the fortunes of cinema. And what, of course, this also does is it brings us to the question we've been asking today, that one person in your life who absolutely cannot keep a secret. Tom Holland, the actor who plays Spider-Man, is well known. In fact, you may remember Marvel Studios going to great lengths to stop him from accidentally giving the spoiler in Avengers Endgame. One of the characters there, and if you haven't seen it, I'm about to give you that spoiler. Tony Stark dies. And they just thought Tom Holland is not going to be able to keep this a secret. And so they didn't tell him. They didn't tell him that the character dies until the movie was out. And he found out, like the rest of us, that Tony Stark dies in the movie because, in fact, they even had a funeral scene, and he was told they were shooting a wedding. And so he turned up expecting a celebration, only to realize something was wrong when he noticed everyone was dressed somberly. And he then asked where Robert Downey Jr. was, and then, of course, that's how he found out they were filming Tony Stark's funeral. But they didn't tell him right until the end because they didn't trust he could keep a secret.
702.
The newspapers.
Someone else who can't keep a secret is Sfiso Zulu. He's always telling us what's happening in the news.
That's true. That's true. Listen, their dating apps are losing their spark, and single people are looking for love the old-fashioned way, and this is in person. So,
do they ask friends to introduce them to people, hey?
No. So they have in-person events such as salsa dancing and speed dating that involves pizza. But in London, there's even a game where you can wear a chicken suit and run through the streets to find a hidden pub. So this is like an activity that you can do with your potential significant other. So instead of being on Bumble and Hinge and Tinder and all of that, you are out in the streets in a chicken suit chasing pubs.
Bumble?
Yes.
Hinge.
And
maybe
Tinder.
That's why I'm single, hey? Let's go to business.
EWN Business.
Hotel wants to know, is it easier to tell friends and family about your personal problems, or is it much easier to tell them about your financial situation? What prompts the question?
Bongani Eskom will have to let advisors have a closer look at its finances ahead of negotiations with lenders on a plan to break apart the state-owned power utilities operations. President Cyril Ramaphosa has endorsed the creation of an independent transmission system operator, or a TSO, outside of Eskom as part of efforts to open the electricity market to greater private sector participation. Now, Eskom's unbundling is the legal and operational separation of South Africa's state-owned power utility into three distinct parts. There's a generation entity, transmission company, and distribution unit. So basically operating as a group, and those companies are subsidiaries to Eskom. Now, why unbundle Eskom? It's envisioned that a separate grid operator ensures private and public generators get equal access to power lines, and also unlocks funding. Standalone entities can also raise capital and form public-private partnerships directly to build thousands of kilometers of new power lines. The unbundling won't be easy, though. Eskom Holdings will retain and continue to carry the core of the utility's massive financial debt on its balance sheet while setting up the new operational subsidiaries. Around 254 billion rand government support that was received by Eskom to try and ease their debt situation, but the utility faces severe crisis regarding mounting municipal arrears, which have surged past 110 billion rand. So Eskom, as we know it, will be unbundled, and the monopoly will be broken up in little parts in a transmission company, a distribution company, and one that is a generation business as well.
Please unbundle the rand for me.
16 Rand 34 looking good against the US dollar this morning, 18 Rand 86 against the euro, and 21 Rand 99 cents against the British pound. Price of gold up more than 1% at $4,139 an ounce, or platinum is at $1,759. Brent crude at $78 a barrel. More business after 7.
Straight to the news desk we go. Again, a person who cannot keep secrets, Sfiso Zulu. And it's good that you don't.
I guess. Thanks, Bongani. Good morning. The Institute of Race Relations says sections of the Expropriation Act unfairly favor the state when determining compensation for expropriated property. The Institute has approached the Western Cape High Courts along with Afrikaans lobby group AfriForum and the DA to challenge the constitutionality of the Act. Legal teams for the applicants presented their arguments in court this week. Carlo Peterson has been following proceedings.
Institute of Race Relations lawyer advocate David Borgström argued that compensation should be determined through a case-by-case assessment rather than a process that could leave owners with reduced or even no compensation. He told the court that personal and emotional interests linked to property should also be considered when compensation is calculated.
That the land has a very strong emotional connection to me and my family. That's me and my family have our interest in this land is an emotional connection that goes back a long time. Well, that should be something that should be factored in.
Borgström argued that land reform is the responsibility of the state and should not be achieved by imposing unfair compensation burdens on property owners. Carlo Peterson, Eyewitness News.
A new national leadership has taken shape in former President Jacob Zuma's MK party ahead of the local government elections. Zuma's longtime ally, Nkosinathi Nhleko, has been fired from his role as national chairperson. It's been replaced with Reverend Mxolisi Phakathi. Zuma has also appointed his son, Duduzane, as the party's first deputy president. Duduzane is replacing John Hlophe, who will now only hold one role as the party's parliamentary caucus leader. The party also booted Nomsa Dlamini from her position as second deputy president, replacing her with Lindiwe Mtshali. Party spokesperson Sfiso Mahlangu announced the changes last night at a media briefing in Durban.
The president calls upon all members, leaders and structures of the party to unite behind these leaders and continue working to build a disciplined, united and effective organization in the service of the people of South Africa.
A law expert says the city of Cape Town may have moved too soon in its push for Metro Police to be granted investigative powers. Senior researcher at the Dula Omar Institute, Jean Redpath, says the Constitution and current legislation do not clearly provide for such powers. Her comments follow the city's decision to declare an intergovernmental dispute with Acting Police Minister Feroz Kachalia over this issue. But she believes Metro Police should be allowed to investigate cases where officers have made the arrest and opened the docket. She also says those cases are currently handed over to the SAPS for further investigation, creating an unnecessary break in the process.
And what we've actually seen in practice is that once things are handed over, the city has to move heaven and earth to keep track of exactly what happens to those cases and exactly how they are processed in the courts. And in practice, we see that they are not properly processed, they tend to be withdrawn, and they tend not to be prosecuted.
And the World Health Organization has called for more support to combat the Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo, which is still outpacing response efforts. The outbreak is the biggest ever to hit the country, despite being declared less than 3 months ago. The WHO says more finances and other resources are needed to scale up all areas of response, including treatment capacity, field investigation teams, safe burial teams, and community workers. There have been 3,802 confirmed cases of Ebola in the DRC, including 1,707 deaths. A total of 727 patients have recovered, and there are 275 suspected cases that are being investigated. A fine day in store for Gauteng today. The temperatures are at lows of 3 and 5 degrees, peaking at highs between 23 and 24.
And in the traffic, we've got an accident on the M2 West. It happened near the Crown interchange. It's causing delays. I'm seeing delays already along Boyson's Road. This is just heading towards the Joburg CBD. While traveling on the N1 North, we've got more delays. This is as you approach 14th Avenue in the Roodepoort area.
The top story this hour, the Institute of Race Relations says sections of the Expropriation Act unfairly favor the states when determining compensation for expropriated property.
Hi, this is Teko Modise, Hollywood Bet's brand ambassador. Be a winner who knows when it's time for a timeout and play responsibly. If you or someone you know needs help, call the South African Responsible Gambling Toll-Free Counseling Line on 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. Hollywood Bet supports responsible gambling. No person under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop.
The Johannesburg Philharmonic's early spring season features world-class international conductors and soloists performing with our finest musicians. The program includes favorites by Tchaikovsky, Mozart, and more. Thursday evenings at the Linda Auditorium from 13 August to 3 September at 7:30 p.m. Tickets available at Quicket.
The Money Show.
Weekday evenings at 6.
A new warning from News 24 Business about the huge surge in traffic fine scams.
You click on the link and gives you a credit card link to pay it. Now that link is not going to a proper gateway. It mines your card data so it can be sold to people who practice a thing called carding, where they download viable credit card numbers and they just create their own cards and they go shopping.
Craig Pedersen is the head of forensics.
The Money Show
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes is brought to you by Absa Corporate and Investment Banking. Africa's energy future takes more than ambition. It takes turning plans into projects, opportunity into investment, intent into execution. At Absa Corporate and Investment Banking, we help connect the capital, expertise, and opportunity needed to bring sustainable projects to life across Africa. That's how we're invested in Africa's energy future. 702.
WhatsApp Bongani on 072
702 1702.
Good morning, Bongs. Good morning, Bongs and the team. Good morning, the 72 Breakfast Show. Listen, Bongs, I've got a friend. I'm on my TV. You don't tell him anything. I promise you, it will be known by the whole world. Great show, as always.
Morning, Bongani and the listeners. The one person that I don't trust is actually someone I'm very close to, and she's a friend of mine. We talk on a daily basis. So I listen to her things, her secrets and everything, and I don't take them out. But if you tell her something, definitely it'll be out. And one of those things that were personal to me, one of my pregnancies. So I don't tell her. So she even recently had to find out via the Stockfell ladies. And the only reason she found out is because they needed to throw me a baby shower. So I told the chairperson instead of telling her, and then she had to find out at a meeting. Victoria from Pretoria.
Morning, Bongani and the team and all the 702 lenders. Hey, Bongani, I had a partner like that. It's just that now we have separated. My son and I used to call him Eyewitness News. He doesn't keep quiet. He knows everything about people. Whenever he goes out, he's coming back with some news that other people don't know. So we decided to name him Eyewitness News. Yes, that man can talk and he knows everything about everybody. So yeah, it's very toxic to be around a person like that in a real sense. But I used to have a character like that.
Good morning, Bongani and team. I'd like to stay anonymous. About 15 years ago, I found out my HIV status, and I went to my cousin because I knew that she was also HIV positive. And at that time, I was still grappling with it and trying to figure things out. And did I not get calls from the rest of the family asking me about it just a few days later? She was the only other person who knew in the family.
Gosh. And I mean, maybe we make light of it, but these things can absolutely destroy relationships. Trust is broken, and you just know that that blabbermouth is somebody you don't want around you. You don't want around your children, your family. Do you have that person in your life that you cannot trust? Yeah, we can make light of it, but it can have very, very devastating consequences when people spread information they should not disclose.
EWN Sport.
The other thing, of course, is that there's this view that women are gossips, but I would argue men are much bigger gossips.
Much worse, Bongani. Much worse. When you come back from a woman's night out, your husband, and then who said what? And what did she say? And you're just like, I don't know. Nothing happened.
I have friends of mine, and they're a married couple, and whenever they're apart for a particular evening, their whole thing is to go and collect topics.
Yes.
And he's always more curious than she is.
It reminds
about
me,
what topics she collected.
It reminds me of that that show that was on at one stage, Defending the Caveman. And that's what it was about. He said, it's from our caveman days where the woman used to gather. And the women gather all the information in their little brains and then they bring it back, etc., etc. But I think it's definitely the men.
Who gossip a whole lot more.
And I don't know if it's gossiping, and I'm not taking a dig at men, and I'm not trying to psychoanalyze you, blah, 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 blah. But I think men, actually humans in general, like to know what's going on in other people's lives so they can feel better about their own.
Yeah, indeed.
So if you come back from your dinner and I say to Bongani, because we're married, and I say, Amo says her husband, and suddenly the man
doesn't feel so bad.
Like a peacock, like a male peacock, all his feathers go out and he thinks I'm amazing.
Now, that could well have been the scenario with Banyana yesterday, because not only did they need to win, but they needed another game to go a particular way.
Yes, so it was literally, okay, we need to win. Tick, we did that. We beat Burkina Faso. Then we need Ivory Coast to beat Tanzania, and they did it for us. 2-1 was the result there. So as a result, we're through to the quarterfinals. We'll play Morocco on Saturday night at 10 o'clock. The goal was scored in the first half by Tembi Kgatlana in the 21st minute. Here's Coach Desiree Ellis.
Yesterday I said it was going to be a different challenge. It was going to be a difficult game, and I think we made it a little bit difficult for ourselves. We scored early, we stopped playing. We knew on the transition that we needed to really be organized, and we almost gave it away just after halftime. But we've got to give credit to the players. It wasn't pretty. Sometimes it doesn't have to be pretty, but I thought all around the team played really well.
Springbok welcome back their star players to face Argentina in Buenos Aires on Saturday. Coach Rassie Rasmus using the match to test the readiness of players back from injury like captain Siya Kolisi, Eben Etzebeth and Lord Diago, who've yet to play the season. Also back Sasha Feinberg and Gomazulu, Morne van den Berg, Andre Esthuizen and Ethan Hooker. Here's Coach Rasmus.
Obviously, we want to be on the winning side on the scoreboard, but I don't think the margin of winning, if we do win, is the important thing. Because a lot of these guys is coming back from injury, as you say, and then some is not really settled in the team, like Cameron and Elrich and those kind of guys. It won't be perfect, but if we get better and we're growing our game and we're building our game plan and we're getting more in sync, hopefully then the score will go our way.
After this, the Boks face the All Blacks in a 4-match series. The All Blacks are already in Cape Town to play the Stormers on Friday. Simon Parker believes the series will be decided by the team with more hunger to win.
I suppose at the end of the day, it just comes down to whatever team shows up and whatever team wants it more. Sure, there's plenty of battles and tactical awareness stuff that'll come through, but yeah, at the end of the day, it's the team that wants it.
Chad Leclos revealed on Instagram that his apartment in Sea Point, Cape Town was destroyed by a fire last week, the night after he won his 21st medal at the Commonwealth Games to be the most decorated athlete at the Games of all time. The fire claimed the life of his neighbour. Leclos posted, "It has taken me a while to process this heartbreaking tragedy. Sadly, my home, where I've lived for more than a decade, burnt down. There's nothing left to salvage."
And in cricket, Pakistan are in control of the second test with the West Indies. It's stumps on day 3. The West Indies 103 for 6, a lead of only 60 after Pakistan posted a first innings score of 387. Shafiq contributing 160 of those runs. Well, for the West Indies, Warrican took 6 wickets. Cindy Paluta, Eyewitness News Sport.
This is 702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa, brought to you by BCX. Built on trusted connectivity, powered by cloud, strengthened by security, enabled by AI.
This Sunday, Josie My Josie is doing it again with Main Street Sundays, taking over Marshalltown and flipping the script on how Josie moves one whole street right in the heart of the city, closed off to cars, just people vibes and that Main Street magic. Walked with us at the 702 Josie My Josie Walk the Talk. Well, come back and relive it. Missed it and caught FOMO? Well, this could be your second chance. 702 Soulful Sunday with Kenny and Prishaza will be broadcasting live from Main Street Sundays. Join us from Sunday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Head to josiemyjosie.com for the details and grab your free ticket. And come and see what happens when the streets belong to the people. Make Main Street your playground. Babize bonke.
Smart business moves mean more cash flow. Switch to Outsurance Business Insurance and you could get a massive 20% discount on your business insurance premium. Here's Dr. Fahim from Matrix Dental.
We were with our previous insurers for many years prior to the switch. We found that Outsurance really understood our business needs. We are happy with our premiums. I wish we had switched sooner.
Get a quote to switch and save today. Visit outsurance.co.za or call 0800 60000. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
For news on South African industry and mining, Creamer Media's Engineering News and Mining Weekly has you covered. Click through to Creamer Media's Engineering News each day for the latest on the people and companies shaping the energy transition and South African industry. Keep your finger on the critical minerals pulse by visiting Creamer Media's Mining Weekly. For deeper insight, subscribe to the Engineering News and Mining Weekly magazine, out on Fridays. Creamer Media, current, credible, comprehensive.
Coming up in the next hour, What's the Question? Brought to you by Outsurance. 3,000 Rand in cash is up for grabs. You send us an answer based on anything that piqued your interest during the show, and for that you win 1,000 Rand. Simply WhatsApp us your name and the answer to 072 702 1702. Later on, someone else will ask a question to win 2,000 Rand. Now, you always stand a better chance of being selected to give us today's answer if you've SMS'd out to Outsurance and got yourself a quote. So do it now. SMS out to 45142 and you could save on your car insurance.
The Brainy Kids of the Whiz
on 702.
Hi, my name is Lisiba and I am in grade 6 in General Nicholas Smith. And when I grow up, I want to be a soccer player. And I'm excited to play the Whiz Quiz with Uncle Bongani.
702.
Coming up at 7:15, the big interview.
EWN Traffic.
12 to 7, the CWN Traffic brought to you by Outsurance. SMS out to 45142 now. And you could save on your car insurance. If you don't, you can ask them for 500 Rand. That crash on the M2 West, Amo, how bad is it?
It's horrible, Bongani. It's causing heavy delays near the Crown Interchange, delays coming out of Heidelberg Road. As a result, Boyson's Road is also backed up due to the scene. So please be on the lookout there. Then there's another accident reported on the N3 North heading towards Alexandra. It happened near Vincent Chabalala Road. It's also causing delays. Please approach with care. We'll have more coming up. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Things people stress about in traffic. Number 50 was, as per my last email, too passive-aggressive. Oh, the torture. Well, with the Outsurance pointsman on your route, at least the traffic is one less thing to stress about. The Outsurance pointsmen have been easing traffic congestion so we all get to where we need to be quickly and safely for the past 20 years. With Outsurance, you really always get something out. In partnership with 702, Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
Cloud adoption is no longer the differentiator.
Business value is today's leading organizations need more than technology platforms. They need better visibility, faster decision making, and the agility to respond to change. BCX connects cloud, cybersecurity, managed services, AI, and trusted telecom business connectivity into one intelligent ecosystem that helps organizations improve operational performance, strengthen resilience, and create measurable business outcomes. BCX, connected multi-cloud, intelligent business. BCX enables businesses. Visit bcx.co.za.
Running a truck fleet business in this economy is tough. Fuel, maintenance, staff, the costs never stop. That's why I switched to My Way Business Insurance. Now I save up to 20% on my insurance premiums every month. These savings go a long way to keeping my fleet on the move.
Switch to My Way Business Insurance and save up to 20% on your trucks and buses. Real businesses, real savings. Call us on 0860 646464 for a quote today. My Way is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. Standard rates and T's and C's apply.
Who is the whizziest of them all?
It's the Whiz Quiz on 702.
Coming up next, thousands of migrants cross from Morocco into Spanish territory. Are they pawns in a bigger geopolitical chess game? Let's give away some cash now. Lesiba is 12 years old, goes to General Nicholas Smith School and wants to be a footballer later on in life. Lesiba, who's your favorite footballer right now?
Michael Olise.
Ah, there you go. That's someone to choose. Let's see if you can score 10 goals with these questions. KG, start the clock. What is South Africa's official currency?
Rand.
Correct. Which sense organs allows humans to smell odors?
Nose.
Correct. Lions live in a group called a what, beginning with P?
A pack.
A pride. Complete the saying, an apple a day keeps the what away?
An apple a day keeps the doctor away.
Correct. What name do we use for a book full of maps? A dictionary or an atlas?
An atlas.
Correct. True or false, South Africa's central bank is known as the Reserve Bank?
True.
Correct. What is 18 plus 7?
25.
Correct. What sport do players shout, "Hazard" to an umpire?
Rugby.
Cricket. Spell the word soccer.
SOCCER.
That is correct. And even though it's not in time, the judges are saying, yeah, they'll give you that one. And that means you walk away with a total of 7 correct answers, 700 Rand. You're age 10 to 13. Go to primemediaplus.com. Tell us where you want to play the Whiz Quiz, and we could be calling you.
The brainy kids of the Whiz Quiz
On 702.
702.
The Africa Report.
All right, on to this night. It was a surge unlike any other. They came in their thousands. Migrants desperate to reach Europe. Well, almost. Many swimming around border barriers or squeezing through fences into the Spanish exclave of Ceuta from Morocco. It's an exclave because Ceuta is on the tip of North Africa, although Spain has controlled it since the year 1580. Morocco regards it as a lasting vestige of colonialism, but even as both sides blame human traffickers for smuggling migrants, is there a geopolitical invisible hand behind the surge? Tragically, of course, dozens of people have died, and there are conflicting reports over the death toll, while the crisis has sparked political tensions between Morocco, Spain, and even the European Union. We're joined now by Dr. Lauren Landau, who is a professor of migration and development at the University of Oxford. Dr. Landau, appreciate your time. A good morning to you. The images have been absolutely heartbreaking. Who are these migrants? Where are they from, and what are they fleeing?
It's still unclear exactly who all of them are. But we know that most of them are Moroccan citizens, even though Morocco also hosts a lot of people from sub-Saharan Africa. Most of them seem to be young men, although there were children and women. Many of the victims were women and children. But what it seems is that they were mobilized, if not by international traffickers, by the Moroccan government themselves, through public media, through other mechanisms, as a kind of assault on Spain. There is definitely a political element there. Maybe around Western Sahara, maybe around trying to negotiate more money from Spain for border control. Those motivations remain a bit foggy, but it's definitely not something that happened spontaneously, where people just woke up that morning and in their thousands decided to cross the border.
I was going to ask you about those suggestions that Moroccan guards or officials may have looked the other way to let those numbers overwhelm the Spanish side. Just maybe explain to us, and I know you say it's murky, but Spain's position on Western Sahara and how that might have provoked Morocco, or at least rubbed them the wrong way.
Right. So there is a former Spanish colony, what is now called Western Sahara, which Morocco claims as its own land, that it should belong to the Moroccan kingdom. It is an area that is contested. There has been an ongoing military battle with Polisario Front, a kind of freedom fighters, let's say, in Western Sahara. And Spain has been ambiguous in endorsing Morocco's claims to that. This may be a way in which they can say, look, we will continue to assault you on this side if you will not support our claims for Western Sahara. It may also be that Morocco wants more money. They've looked at what Turkey has done. They've looked at what other countries have done, Kenya, etc., and said, look, if we're going to keep migrants out of Spain, you're going to have to pay us more. We can open this tap. We can make things difficult for you, so pay up.
It also, of course, came just days after the Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez visited Algeria, which essentially supports the independence of Western Sahara from Morocco. And that, I suppose, tells us something about the complicated relationship between the neighbors, Algeria and Morocco now.
Absolutely. And there seems to be something of this. It could be everything. What we are seeing, of course, is that the European far right has used this as a way to bash what is generally a pro-migrant policy from the Spanish government. Unlike many of their neighbors in Europe, they have said, we need migrants, which everyone does, and said we will make them citizens or find a pathway to permanence. And some of the European allies have really rejected this. We see Italy closing the border with Spain, trying to make things difficult for Spain. So whatever the motivations from the African side, we're definitely seeing that this is being mobilized by the right, by the anti-immigrant forces within Europe as well.
Is Spain likely to change that stance, that less restrictive stance on this type of migration, as you say, compared to other EU members? Are they likely to change their position now?
They may be forced to make some concessions. They want to, of course, have continued trade and free flow of people with France, with Italy, with its neighbors. But Spain, I think, has recognized from a humanitarian perspective, but also from a basic economic perspective, that they need people coming in, that they need African labor, as in fact does Italy. But so they are likely to try to hold firm on this, but we'll see where it plays out politically for Spain, both domestically and in terms of the European Union and in relation to Africa.
Let's go back to the migrants themselves. I mean, what's driving thousands of people to risk their lives, even to die, to reach Europe? What do they believe awaits them in Spain?
Yeah, well, when you look at the economic differentials between a place like Morocco and the prospects for someone in Morocco, which has a young and growing population, while Spain, working as a migrant labor in Spain is not paradise for anyone, it does offer possibilities. It may be a steady income. It may allow you to support your family back home. Morocco has told myths. People tell myths about what's happening in Europe, about the golden areas where they can go and make a future. And they've had hundreds of years of history, of course, of people moving across that very narrow bit of sea between the two continents. So people are desperate. There are conflicts, of course, on the continent that people are escaping. Most of these people look like they were Moroccan citizens, most of them fleeing poverty, looking for possibilities somewhere else.
What, any idea rather on the number of people who have died in this latest surge?
I've been following it like you have. We're looking at close to 100 from this latest surge, which is tragic, but relatively small given the tens of thousands of people who are moving. But if we look at the number of people, of course, dying crossing the Mediterranean from Morocco, from other places in North Africa, we're looking at hundreds of people per year.
I mentioned in my introduction that Ceuta, or is it Ceuta, is, of course, on the very tip of Africa and not quite on the European mainland. But once sort of across the border, if you will, or across the fence, what happens to these migrants once they're in Spanish territory?
Well, it is an exclave, and oddly, it is not, even though it is part of Europe, It has special territorial kind of conditions. It's not part of the Schengen area. So once you're in, you cannot travel freely if you're not a Spanish citizen to the rest of Spain or to the rest of Europe. What we saw happening to these people is they came in, blazing hot sun, it's the middle of summer. Many of them wandered around looking for something to do. They sat in parks, they sat on the sides, while the local population closed its shops and its doors. And of course, within a day or two, almost all of them had returned voluntarily or with a little bit of pushing back to Morocco.
All right, we'll leave it there. Dr. Lauren B. Landau, Professor of Migration and Development at the University of Oxford.
702.
Coming up, the big interview.
What happens now to children in South Africa whose parents don't have valid documents? Can they be denied registration rights? The Western Cape High Court has said absolutely not. We'll find out how Home Affairs will now implement this landmark decision. All that to come after this Eyewitness News, brought to you by Outsurance. SMS out to 45142 now, and you could save on your car insurance. If you don't, you can ask them for 500 Rand.
This is EWN.
MPs mount their fights in the impeachment process involving the president, and the court hears how alleged corruption money was spent on renovations for Mapisa Ngakula's home. Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. Parliament's Impeachment Committee has filed its application for leave to appeal the Western Cape High Court ruling that has temporarily stalled hearings of the inquiry probing misconduct allegations against President Cyril Ramaphosa. Rather than lodge a separate appeal, it's elected to join the application for leave to appeal directly to the Constitutional Court. That appeal was first lodged by the African Transformation Movement after last month's order handed down by 3 judges. Committee Chairperson Makgashule Gana says it is inappropriate for the court to stop a constitutional process that's intended to hold the president accountable. Lindsay Dentlinker has more.
In its application to the court, the Impeachment Committee says the impact of the interdict is far-reaching and damaging to the doctrine of the separation of powers, as well as accountability by public representatives, including the president. Chairperson Makgashule Gana says such uncertainty should not be allowed to linger. Last week, Garner said personally he did not believe the committee should appeal the High Court ruling, but he's nonetheless carried out the resolution of the majority, saying it believes the Constitutional Court has the jurisdiction to consider the appeal, since it has a direct bearing on the court's May judgment that instructed Parliament to establish a Section 89 inquiry. The committee says although the interdict is only interim, it believes it's appealable because of the irreparable effect that it carries. The committee says both the majority and minority judgments were incorrect in believing they had the jurisdiction to interdict the May Constitutional Court order. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
The investigating directorate against corruption remains under the spotlight at the Madanga Commission of Inquiry. IDEC prosecutor Trushanta Ramsamy is expected to return to the commission today to give part 2 of her evidence. She's expected to testify about the 2025 arrests of crime intelligence head Dumsani Khumalo and the unit's technical support services leader Dineo Mukweli. They were arrested after IDEC alleged that Mukweli misrepresented her qualifications when she applied for the senior position. While IDEC maintained Mukweli did not have the required qualifications and experience for the post, the commission has since heard that she was in fact overqualified for it. Alfara Mushwana has more.
IDEC Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions Peter Sirunya testified yesterday that he identified several irregularities in the case against crime intelligence officials. Sirunya says IDEC's docket had no evidence to support the case against crime intelligence head Dumsani Khumalo and the unit's technical support services head Dineo Mukweli. He's told the commission that the first red flag was that a very junior prosecutor had been assigned to lead the case without his knowledge.
At the time, I didn't ask myself many questions on the composition of the team, but it didn't look right to me that a case of this magnitude was on the day of the arrest handled by a junior.
IDEC prosecutor Trushanta Ramsamy is expected to return to the hot seat today. Alpha Ramshwana, Eyewitness News, Pretoria.
In the Johannesburg High Court, the trial of alleged underworld figure Vusmuzi Ket Matlala and 4 co-accused has been postponed to the end of this month. Police officer Tumelo Tsotetsi wrapped up his testimony in the trial within a trial yesterday. Differing versions were heard from police witnesses about the arrest of accused number 1 Musa Kekana in relation to the murder of Vereniging engineer Armand Swart. A key issue during cross-examination was the presence of a Toyota Fortuner at the scene. Matlala, Kekana and 3 others are facing 25 charges, including conspiracy to commit murder and attempted murder linked to 3 incidents between 2022 and 2024. Dimakazo Leshoro has been following proceedings.
During his testimony, Captain Phimiso Khobela testified there was no Fortuner at the scene. However, Lieutenant Colonel Tumelo Tsotetsi testified that a paramedic arrived in a black unmarked Toyota Fortuner.
What we can agree on is that the paramedic came in a Fortuner. Is that correct?
That is correct. However, Tsotetsi pointed out that Sekhobela had already left the scene where the Mercedes-Benz was intercepted when the Fortuner arrived. The court also had conflicting evidence about the accused's medical treatment.
Captain Sekhobela had a lot of work on the day. It's possible that some of the things is not recording them correctly.
The trial has now been postponed to the 31st of August. Dimakazo Leshoro, Eyewitness News.
Interior designer Nomsa Shabangu is expected to be cross-examined today about cash she allegedly received for renovations at the home of former Defence Minister Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula. Shabangu has been testifying in the Pretoria High Court about the upgrades made at the house in Bruma between 2018 and 2020. Mapisa-Nqakula is facing 12 counts of corruption and 1 of money laundering for allegedly soliciting 4.5 million rand from defence contractor Nombasa Nchondwa Ndlovu. Khomotso Modise has more.
Interior designer Nomsa Shabangu testified yesterday that between 2018 and 2020, Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula gave her between 1.7 and 1.8 million rand, mostly in cash for furniture and building material. Yesterday, another witness, Emmanuel Moraudzi, who drew the plans for the renovation of the former minister's house, also testified, confirming being paid 70,000 rand in cash. Shabangu claims the former minister still owes her 200,000 rand for her work. She's testified that she would not be hounding Mapisa-Nqakula, who she considers a sister, for the payment. Her cross-examination continues this morning. Khomotso Modise, Eyewitness News at the Pretoria High Court.
Gold is trading at $4,134.66 an ounce. The rand is at 16.35 to the dollar, 22.01 to the pound, 18.87 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $78.77 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got delays on the N3 South. This is between Marlborough Drive and Vincent Chabalala Road. That's due to roadworks there. There's also slow-moving traffic along the N12 West in the Boksburg area. An accident reported right near Jet Park Road. It's causing delays coming out of the R21.
And in your sport, Banyana through to the WAFCON quarterfinals after beating Burkina Faso 1-0. FIFA President Gianni Infantino calls senior staff to a crisis meeting tomorrow. And the Springboks welcome back star players for Saturday's game with Argentina.
A fine day in store for Gauteng. The temperatures will peak at highs between 23 and 24 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. Parliament's Impeachment Committee has filed its application for leave to appeal the Western Cape High Court ruling that has temporarily stalled hearings of the inquiry probing misconduct allegations against President Cyril Ramaphosa.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
To save money, you search multiple sites for the cheapest flight. So why not spend 10 minutes getting an Outsurance car insurance quote like 58-year-old Loretta, who saves
479 rand. That's the third card insured with Outsurance, really saving quite a lot.
That's an unbelievable 479 rand saving on Loretta's 2017 BMW 320. Do it now. SMS out to 45142. That's out to 45142. Outsurance saves 36-year-old Jill a jaw-dropping 471 rand on her 2025 Hyundai i20.
471 rand. I still can't believe, hey? Get Outsurance. Extra pampering money.
Always getting something out. Did you know Outsurance has paid out over 8.4 billion rand in out bonuses? So, ready to switch and save? Do it now. SMS out to 45142. That's out to 45142. Licensed Insurance FSP. TCs and information online.
You're listening to 702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa. Brought to you by BCX. Technology that helps organizations move forward.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
10 minutes after 7 o'clock. Here's a question. If you had unlimited funds and you wanted to renovate your home, what would you prioritize? Would you get a new perimeter wall? A new gate, perhaps? Would you extend the house and add more bedrooms? Or would you add more bathrooms? Would you break down a wall here or there? Fix the gutters? Maybe add solar panels? Fix the driveway? Do a bit of landscaping in the garden? Maybe build a pool? The former defense minister and former speaker of the National Assembly, Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula, is on trial, 12 counts of corruption and one of money laundering. She's accused of soliciting 4.5 million rand. We understand, of course, from one of the witnesses that, in fact, she did get about 2.1 million rand of the money in cash. This is the former contractor, or at least the defense contractor, Nombasa Nzondwa Ndlovu, one of the state's key witnesses in this case against the former minister. And she allegedly paid all this money over a period of time in tranches of cash. Because, you know, what is this EFT? She's an old woman and does a computer with me. She just kept bringing the money in cash and in cash. Her interior decorator says she's still owed about 200,000 rand.
So she still had an interior decorator. She wasn't doing this by herself.
No.
She hired
darling.
Someone to
No, darling.
run everything.
No, darling. And it emerged in court yesterday, her husband was sometimes there to also help pay these monies over. He, of course, being the former Minister of Police.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Things you need to know at this hour. Pressure continues to mount on the FIFA president, Gianni Infantino, who, of course, as we understand, has now called an emergency meeting. He's in Morocco at the moment. He's called an emergency meeting of all his senior staff. This is in the wake of a fierce internal revolt over that FIFA Forward Enterprise Plan. Infantino has called this emergency meeting of senior leadership from FIFA. The crisis, of course, erupted after Infantino was forced to abandon the proposal to essentially sell commercial rights for FIFA events. The plan has triggered a global backlash so intense, it's now raised questions about his future as FIFA president. Umkhonto weSizwe, the party president Jacob Zuma once again overhauling MKP's leadership, removing the national chairperson Nkosinathi Nhleko and the deputy president Dr. John Hlophe, whilst promoting his son Duduzane Zuma, Reverend Mxolisi Phakathi, as the new national chairperson of the party. And it once again raises questions about just how democratic or undemocratic this Spaza Shop political party is turning out to be. You'll be pleased to know operations at Cape Town International Airport have resumed after a Kenya Airways plane suffered a tire failure that temporarily shut down the main runway yesterday. And it was on this day, 1962. Imagine two extraordinary events happening on the same day. On this day, 1962, Nelson Mandela was arrested. Remember, of course, he was in disguise as the Black Pimpernel, and that's what eventually led to his imprisonment for 27 years. But also on this day, the Hollywood icon Marilyn Monroe was found dead at the age of 36, officially ruled as a probable suicide due to a drug overdose. She still remains one of the most famous and influential stars in film history. And on this day in 2013, at the age of 67 in Los Angeles, the American jazz funk keyboardist, composer, and producer George Duke left this world.
I've got to find the reasons I feel the way I do. Let me emphasize that I recognize what I should and should not do. And though I
our man. He brought in, probably in my view, the best jazz vocalist alive, Rochelle Farrell. No Rhyme, No Reason. So many other songs. Dukey Stick, Sweet Baby with Stanley Clarke, and Reach For It. Rest in power, Mr. George Duke.
702. Up next.
The Big Interview.
EWN Traffic.
It's 7:15. Let's catch up with the roads. Issues on the N12 West, delays in Boksburg.
Yeah, that's correct, Bongani. It's due to an accident on the N12 West right near Jet Park Road. Delays coming out of the R21 turnoff while traveling on the N3 South. Please be on the lookout for roadworks that are taking place between Marlborough Drive and Vincent Chabalala Road. There's also queuing traffic along the M1 North. This is just as you approach Harton Drive. An accident reported right along Harton Drive causing delays. More updates coming up. Please stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
702.
The Big Interview.
With Bongani Bingwa.
7:16. On to this now. Consider this. You were born in South Africa, but you have no birth certificate and therefore no official identity and no way to prove that you exist. For thousands of children, that's been their reality. Not only for children who are born to undocumented migrants or asylum seekers, but often for children who are adopted informally, abandoned, even orphaned children who sometimes get caught up in Home Affairs' documentation backlog or other restrictive regulations. And now the Western Cape High Court has ruled that this department can no longer refuse to register a child simply because their parents don't have valid immigration documents. The court says every child has the right to legal identity, and importantly, registering a birth doesn't necessarily mean it grants people South African citizenship. So what will this landmark ruling mean for families, many of whom who have spent years trying to register their children? How will Home Affairs implement the ruling whilst maintaining immigration controls? And could this decision finally begin to address the broader documentation crisis affecting many vulnerable children across the country? I've got two guests with me this morning. James Chapman is the head of advocacy and legal advisor at the Scalabrini Centre of Cape Town, and Thulani Mavuso, the deputy director at the Department of Home Affairs. A very good morning to you both. I'll start with you, James. I said this is a landmark decision. Why is it such a significant victory, as some are calling it, for children's rights?
It's a remarkable decision. Thank you very much, and greeting to your listeners. It's a remarkable decision because it changes the regulations in such a way that children are able to have their births registered, regardless of the documentation of their parents, whether their parents are South African or foreign nationals. The judgment says that if one parent is undocumented or both parents are undocumented, the child's birth must still be registered, and that's a crucial step in the right direction.
Isn't this, though, going to be a headache for Home Affairs? I mean, how do they begin to know if this person was even born in South Africa without the parents having the necessary documents to prove it?
So there's a lot of ways to evidence the documentation, identity documentation of the parent can be substituted for an affidavit via testimony of those in the community living with. There obviously will be the birth itself of the child at the hospital to the mother, if the mother's undocumented, let's say an undocumented South African person with a blocked ID, or somebody who's under the age of 16 or doesn't yet have an ID, or a foreign national who is undocumented. All these instances, there's other ways of establishing and proving, like, as I say, by way of affidavit or testimony, in order to prove and still ensure that the rights of the child are protected.
Many people will immediately assume this is particularly about children of undocumented migrants, but there are many children who are South Africans who may have grown up perhaps in a child-headed household, or who've been adopted by family members informally, who can't prove their citizenship.
Well, exactly. There also were over sort of 2 million South African nationals whose IDs were blocked, but the majority of which are completely legitimate, and yet they wouldn't be able to register birth because their IDs are no longer on the system. You have, as I say, people who are not of age yet to have got an ID. So there are South Africans and migrants who are impacted by the decision positively in terms of the rights of the child being protected.
All right, Tulani Mavuso, of course, also joins us for this conversation, the Deputy Director General for Operations at the Department of Home Affairs. Tulani, doesn't this pose a bit of a headache for your department?
Good morning, and good morning to your 702 lenders, Bongani. No, it does. That is why currently we are still studying the judgment so that we can be able to respond to some of the issues that are raised in the judgment. But just to set the record clear, we do register children of foreign nationals when they are born, and we give them a notice of birth that they then take to the embassy, where they will then apply for either passports and so forth. Now, those are foreign nationals who are legally in the country. The conundrum here comes in when a person legitimately says, I'm undocumented, illegal in the country, I've given birth to somebody else. The minute obvious that person avails themselves to the authorities, we've got the responsibility to ensure that our immigration law kicks in, because that person then says, I'm illegal in the country. So we then have to obviously deal with that particular issue. That is why we're trying to harmonize the legislation with the white paper on citizenship, immigration, and refugee act to be able to create a legislation that is going to close those particular gaps. Because I think year in and year out, certain parts of some of the legislation that we administer are declared as unconstitutional. Some of them, obviously, were enacted prior to the current constitution.
One of the difficulties, if I understand the scenario that you've just outlined there, that it would present is parents essentially faced with the awful choice of getting their child registered because they were born here and at the same time exposing themselves as being in the country illegally. You can see that choice is going to be that the child stays undocumented.
Well, as I said, we have a number of those children. I mean, we have been dealing with the cases of children, some instances where if someone is stateless, for an example, either abandoned and born in South Africa, they've not been able to acquire citizenship of any other country. So there is a process that allows for someone who's stateless to be able to apply to the Minister of Home Affairs to ensure that they are registered, they are granted citizenship. So there is a separate process for that. But in this instance, these are decisions that are made by parents who enter the territory and become illegal in the country, and therefore they're subject to the children in some of those challenges that they do. So, but I think we do going to look into that, the issues of the legislation, and see how best we can be able to deal with this issue.
All right, we lost you there for a second, Tulani Mavuso. I don't know if you were on speaker, but let me get back to James. Tulani Mavuso says, look, they're obviously going to have to study the judgment to see how to best align what its decision means in terms of existing rules and regulations and indeed even legislation. Is it that simple? And how do you begin to even apply it retrospectively to people who have been in the country for a very long time, maybe some even now adults who are unregistered but can say they were born, even educated here?
So,
yes, that's
I was saying that indeed, it's the system as it stands would still allow for the registration of the birth in the context that there's a late registration of birth system. So even if a person hasn't yet been able to register, then the system in place even before the judgment would allow for the registration of the birth of the children. What this judgment does, however, is where either in practice, even though the law allowed it, or in instances where the law didn't make a provision for registration of birth can now take place. And very positively, I think the department is committed, that's what they communicated in the case, and that's what you see also come through in judgment, to ensuring that children are registered. But there will need to put some steps in place to ensure that in practice there's implementation.
Tulani, let me ask you just very simply, let's say we've got an individual now who claims they were born here, they were raised here, they were educated here, and they've somehow navigated the system without the necessary documents. Does that then mean that person can get a South African identity document?
No, it doesn't do that. Remember, the citizenship in South Africa, you get it by descent. In other words, one of the or two of your parents must be a citizen. That's the first point. The second part, you can get it through naturalization, meaning that if you have possessed legal documents, whether you have had your temporary resident permit, you move to a permanent resident permit, and then after a period of 10 years, you can apply for citizenship through naturalization. But as I've indicated, in certain instances where a person has been stateless, and then the case can be proven in front of with all supporting documents, then let's say a child was born here, abandoned, the parents are not known, and they've never left the republic, and then in this instance you can deal with the issue of statelessness, because obviously we are part and parcel of some of the international instruments like a convention on the rights of the child, where we are, as states, we are actually pretty bound to ensure that children are not becoming stateless. But in instances where they have parents who have citizenship of the country of origin, it cannot be. Otherwise, I can tell you now, Bongani, we would have, if we did not apply the citizenship by descent, I think our population would have reached 1 billion by now if we did not do that.
All right, I get the hyperbole. James, you talked about millions who are unable to access the system because their IDs have been blocked, and how this frees them. Just explain what you meant by that.
Well, there was an instance some years ago where the Department of Home Affairs blocked a series of South African ID holders and took them off the system. And so people were not able to access banking, not able to access any services, wouldn't be able to register and those individuals whose IDs, South Africans whose IDs are not recognized by the system, would not have been able to. Similarly, South Africans who were maybe haven't yet got an ID, a 15-year-old, 16-year-old gives birth, hasn't yet got an ID, they again wouldn't be able to register the birth. But now with the being undocumented and still being able to register, they are protected. And then just to add that also the law provides for instances where a child is born in South Africa, they spend the first 18 years of their life in South Africa in terms of Section 4.3 of the Citizenship Act. Such an individual can apply for citizenship, but provided that the birth was registered. So that's also an important element to the picture.
All right. Does that contradict what Thulani Mavuso was saying, that citizenship is by descent? You're saying, James, that if they've been here long enough, they can simply apply for citizenship at 18? Is that what you understand of this judgment?
So it's not a result of the judgment. It's the Citizenship Act as it stands that says that if somebody reaches the age of 18, having been born here, and I mean South Africa then has invested 18 years in such an individual, schooled them, and etc. That person has only ever known South Africa as their country, and then that person is entitled to apply for and obtain citizenship in terms of Section 4.3 of the Citizenship Act. So that's just an additional category to the categories mentioned by the DDG.
All right, Thulani Mavuso, you'll have the last word on this. I mean, as you study the judgment, what are the immediate steps to try and make sure that all of this is aligned?
Well, as I've indicated, we will continue to ensure that we register birth of foreign nationals and give them the notice of birth. But also we have been developing a system that will allow to register birth of both South Africans and foreign nationals and be able to categorize them that this one is a South African, this one is a foreign national, because I think the gripe has always been that the notice of birth that we issue is not an automated document. In other words, it's a manual document. So that we have accepted, and we have been talking obviously with the UNHCR and other bodies, that we will issue an automated one for the notice of birth. But in the instances, as I've indicated, where someone has actually just been illegal in the country giving birth, the difficulty, as we have said earlier, is about proving whether this person was born in South Africa or not, because if the person has been born in a hospital, we've been able to get birth records, a hospital register. It becomes much more easier. But where we do not even have any of such evidence, obviously it places us in a difficult position. But as I've indicated, we will look at the judgment. I think where we have to adjust some of the regulations that have been cited in the judgment, and we'll look into that, whether we can do so. But I think the bigger issue is that I think the Minister will, of course, come out and pronounce on the way forward in relation to this particular judgment.
Appreciate your time. Thulani Mavuso is the Deputy Director General for Operations at the Department of Home Affairs. James Chapman, the head of advocacy and legal advisor at the Scalabrini Centre of Cape Town.
EWN Business.
Business news now. Well, a development at the PIC. A court finds that the board's decision to suspend the CEO was unlawful. He's back at work, Mutewa.
Yeah, they jumped the gun there and he has his job back. Patrick Dlamini's suspension as CEO of the Public Investment Corporation has been set aside. The Gauteng High Court in Pretoria ruling that the PIC's CEO suspension was unlawful and invalid. The court pointing out that Section 6 of the Public Investment Corporation Act provides that the Minister of Finance, in consultation with Cabinet, appoints the CEO. Now, the board's role is limited to selecting and recommending a suitable candidate. Dlamini was suspended without the knowledge of Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana. Dlamini also placed on precautionary suspension last month after a whistleblower complaint. The dispute centered on his decision to approve a PwC forensic investigation into a complex transaction involving Lanseria Airport and the company the PIC funded Acapulco. Now, the PIC board argued that Dlamini did not have the authority to commission the forensic review.
Where's the rand?
Well, the rand at this hour, 16.36 against the US dollar, 18 rand 87 against the euro, and 22 rand 1 cent against the British pound. Price of gold up more than 1% at $4,137 an ounce, or platinum is also strong at $1,764. Brent crude now at $78 a barrel. More business after 8.
Time now for your latest eyewitness news. And let's start in Cape Town, Sfisa Zulu.
Well, Bongani, good morning. A foster home in Nyanga is being investigated after a grade 1 pupil got stuck in a locked classroom for 2 days because he feared returning to the home. The Western Cape Education Department says the boy was reported missing by his foster mother on Friday. The 8-year-old was then found unharmed on Sunday following a search operation. Michael George has the story.
The Faith and Hope Missing Persons organization says the boy used a heater to keep warm during the 2 nights he spent in the locked classroom. The Western Cape Education Department's Bruna Hammond.
On Sunday afternoon, the principal, caretaker and SAPS unlocked the classrooms and found the learner hiding under a table in his classroom.
The Nyanga Crime Prevention Forum's Dumisani Kwebe says the grade 1 learner says he hid under a desk after school on Friday because he did not want to return to his foster home.
When the foster came, I tried to take her to the field and she was shivering as if there is something that is happening now.
The Western Cape Department of Social Development is now investigating the incident as well as the child's living conditions. All the children at the foster home have been placed in a safe space and are receiving necessary care and support. Mihle George, Eyewitness News.
The Institute of Race Relations says sections of the Expropriation Act unfairly favor the state when determining compensation for expropriated property. The institute has approached the Western Cape High Court along with Afrikaans lobby group AfriForum and the DA to challenge the constitutionality of the act. Legal teams for the applicants presented their arguments in court this week. Carlo Peterson has been following proceedings.
Institute of Race Relations lawyer advocate David Borgström argued that compensation should be determined through a case-by-case assessment rather than a process that could leave owners with reduced or even no compensation. He told the court that personal and emotional interests linked to property should also be considered when compensation is calculated.
That the land has a very strong emotional connection to me and my family. That's me and my family have our interest in this land is an emotional connection that goes back a long time. Well, that should be something that should be factored in.
Borgström argued that land reform is the responsibility of the state and should not be achieved by imposing unfair compensation burdens on property owners. Carlo Peterson, Eyewitness News.
The Post Office has achieved its first unqualified audit opinion in 6 years, marking a major governance milestone. But while its financial reporting has improved, the Auditor General says the organization's future remains uncertain. Anelita Fandese reports.
The state-owned company is still working through its business rescue process and says the unqualified audit is an important milestone, but only one step in its longer journey towards operational and financial sustainability. Acting Chief Executive Fatima Magani, says the outcome restores confidence in the post office's financial reporting after years of governance failures, adding that government, creditors and business partners can once again rely on its financial statements. However, the improved audit does not mean the post office is out of trouble. The Auditor General has warned of material uncertainty over the entity's ability to continue as an ongoing concern. Anelita Fandese, Eyewitness News.
And more changes have been made yet again in former President Jacob Zuma's MK party. A newly established strategic presidential team has now been dissolved. The team, which was announced last Monday, was said to be the party's highest decision-making body and effectively stripped powers from its senior leaders. The party announced several changes last night at a media briefing in Durban. Tabiso Koba was there.
When the MK party announced the strategic presidential team, it said it had overarching authority to provide leadership and direction over the party. It was effectively seen as a vote of no confidence in the party's Secretary General and its treasurer, as all their duties were now concentrated under this team. However, less than 2 weeks after it was formed, MK party national spokesperson Sfiso Mahlangu announced yesterday that the strategic presidential team has been dissolved.
The presidency hereby directs also that the SG and the TG shall return to work and resume their full responsibilities. This is done with immediate effect.
The MK party has reinstated the presidential task team, which will now be led by its former KwaZulu-Natal convener, Willis Mchunu. Tabiso Koba, Eyewitness News.
A fine day in store for Gauteng today. The temperatures will peak at highs between 23 and 24 degrees.
And in the traffic, we've got delays on the Mike North. In fact, a stop and go between Boyson's Road and the Kilani Bains. That's due to peak time delays. And then in the Houghton area, we've got an accident on Houghton Drive. This is just as you exit towards the M1, and that's the reason for that backup coming out of Kasogari Road. And then traveling in Germiston, delays on the M2 East approaching the Geldenhuys interchange. That's due to roadworks.
The top story this hour, a foster home in Nyanga is being investigated after a grade 1 pupil got stuck in a locked classroom for 2 days because he feared returning to the home.
Strong communities are built on a strong local government. Every day, municipalities work to deliver the essential services that improve lives and support thriving communities across South Africa. As the voice of local government, SALGA represents, supports and empowers municipalities to build capable institutions, promote good governance and advance effective service delivery. SALGA, inspiring service delivery.
There's important progress in health happening right here in South Africa. Local researchers are studying a promising TB vaccine candidate, M72, that could help prevent people from becoming seriously ill with the disease. At the same time, initiatives like Coach Mpilo are supporting men living with HIV, helping them overcome stigma and stay on treatment through peer support and private chat guidance. It's South African science, innovation and community leadership contributing to the future of global health, supported by the Gates Foundation for over 25 years, partners of human potential.
You hear that? That's the sound of business execution finally visible. No more chasing people and reports, no more disconnected systems, no more guessing if our business is performing or not. iStratGo connects strategy, people, performance, and day-to-day work into one clear software platform, so leaders can see what's working, what's not, and where to focus. Because when execution is visible, everything runs better. Book a demo on istratgo.com. istratgo.com.
Humans are very good at planning some things. A weekend bribe, being first in the queue for fresh cinnamon rolls. But the big things? Like what happens to the people we love if life suddenly changes? Not so much. That's why Liberty and 702 are having a conversation about protecting your family's financial future. This Wednesday on the Clement Mangatela Show, a Liberty expert answers your questions, helping you turn uncertainty into a plan. WhatsApp your questions about life and legacy planning to 072-702-1702 with the keyword Liberty. Join the conversation and take the next step towards securing your family's future. Liberty, in it with you on 702.
702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa is brought to you by BCX. built on trusted telecom business connectivity. Powered by cloud, strengthened by security, enabled by AI.
Morning, Uncle Bongani. Morning. 702 team. My mother is one of the people whose IDs were blocked. She's still struggling. Because both her parents are from Lesotho, but her mother got naturalized in the 60s. So now she's still struggling today. When they actually kept the wrong information because they say she entered. They say she entered in 1985. But this person has been in the country ever since the 60s. But when they kept it the wrong information. And my mom is the one that's struggling right now. And my mom was naturalized also. But now it's shocking the way Home Affairs is working.
I'm a South African citizen. My children were born in this country as South African citizens. Please explain, Home Affairs, why both my children's birth records are not available. They are lost in the system. It's 5 years later, still not found, no answers. What do they do with our birth records for South African citizens? Nobody helps us, citizens, let alone undocumented people. It is the most frustrating thing, and I cannot get answers from Home Affairs. I've gone quite far up the food chain.
Morning, Bongani. I think the issue here is I know some illegal immigrants that cross to the country to give birth so that their children are then South Africans. We need to deal with that. And they will sit here for 18 years and then the act must recognize them.
You see, these courts are promoting abduction. How do they know that that parent who doesn't have any documents at all and that child who doesn't have any documents at all, if that child belongs to that parent? Because we have a problem of children that are abducted. And if by virtue of taking that child to school, what are you making that parent? A legal citizen. It's a loophole that they've seen, and the court is helping them. Because you cannot say this child is undocumented, they must go to school. What about the parent? Because you cannot chase the parent away. That means that parent has to stay in South Africa, illegally so.
Yeah, but I mean, on the other hand, what about those children who have been lost in the system through no fault of their own? I'm talking now even South African children. I think that's one of the things that this is trying to address. For years, we spoke about child-headed households where there were no parents, particularly at the peak of the AIDS crisis. What happened to all of those children who can't prove their origins because their parents are no longer around? Do we just leave them be in the system and not assist them? It's a very complex situation, and I suppose officials at the Department of Home Affairs are going to have to take it on a case-by-case basis, looking at the particular details of the cases that are presented in front of them. But I don't think you can go as far as to say the court was doing this so as to enable abductors. I don't quite think that's what they had in mind.
702.
What's the question?
What's the question is brought to you by Outsurance, a chance for you to win up to 3,000 Rand in cash. First, 1,000 Rand for the answer, and then a little later, 2,000 Rand if you can give us the question. SMS out to 45142 now, and you could save on your car insurance. If you don't, you can ask Outsurance for 500 Rand. Let's go to the lines and go to Caroline Nagedi in Boksburg. Nagedi, what's today's answer, please?
Morning, Bongani. Today's answer is $360 million.
$360 million. And tell me, Nagedi, have you got yourself a quote from Outsurance?
Yes, I have.
Your biscuit, 1,000 Rand is coming your way, all thanks to 702 and Outsurance. You're welcome. You're welcome. Such joy from Nagedi there. The answer, $360 million. What's the question? Call us if you know on 011 883 0702.
EWN Sport.
Gosh, imagine if that's what Banyana were getting, hey? From WAFCON. Cindy
Oh.
$360 million. Not quite. not quite.
I would have a new best friend and a Banyana player. Imagine how many friends come find you. But they're through to the quarterfinals of WAFCON, and they beat Burkina Faso 1-0 and Ivory Coast beat Tanzania 2-1. Tembi Kgatlana scored in the 21st minute to set up a quarterfinal with Morocco on Saturday at 10 p.m. Here's coach Desiree Ellis.
It's not how you start, but it's how you finish. We've been encouraged. Even though we lost the first game, we created a lot of opportunities. And as a coach, we don't create opportunities. It's a bigger problem. In the second game as well, we created opportunities. But the fight back shows what this team is made of. I thought today we gave an all-round performance. It's not going to happen overnight, but we keep working. We keep working on being better. And that's all we can do.
FIFA President Gianni Infantino will hold a crisis meeting with senior staff today. Infantino's under pressure to keep his job after he was forced to withdraw his plan to create FIFA's Forward Enterprise, a separate company that will run the commercial and operational aspects of FIFA's tournaments. The latest, Jordan's FA accusing FIFA of blackmailing them over money in return for support for Infantino. Springbok coach Rassie Rasmus is using Saturday's game with Argentina to test the readiness of players returning from injury like captain Sio Khaleesi, Banetsabeth and Lourdes de Jager. Also back Morne van den Berg, Andre Esthuys and Ethan Hooker, and Sasha Feinberg and Ngoma who was injured in the URC.
No injury is nice, and I think I'm really not one to dwell. I just kind of use the time to look at the game from a more technical aspect and develop areas of my game that I probably didn't have time to do before. So it was disastrous when it happened, and it wasn't enjoyable, but I just made the most of the time off.
Chad Leclerc's apartment in Sea Point, Cape Town was destroyed by fire the night after he won his 21st medal at the Commonwealth Games to be the most decorated athlete. The fire claimed the life of his neighbour. Leclerc posted on Instagram, "It has taken me a while to process this heartbreaking tragedy. Sadly, my home, where I've lived for more than a decade, burnt down. There's nothing left to salvage." And in tennis, Carlos Alcaraz has withdrawn from the Cincinnati Open as he continues to recover from his wrist injury. Alcaraz has not played since April. Cindy Paluta, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
14 to 8. This EWN Traffic is brought to you by Amo Ramila.
Well, Bongani, we've got delays in Parkmore along Winnie Mandela Drive. Just as you approach Santon Drive, peak time delays there. And then traveling on Winnie Mandela Drive, the opposite direction, though, we've got an accident right near Sterling Avenue. It's causing delays, so do anticipate a lot of delays around this area. Then heading towards the Kiruli's interchange, there's queuing traffic on the N1 South. This is between Marlborough Drive and Vincent Chabalala Road. That's due to roadworks, while in Santon, an accident on the M1 South right near Grayston Drive. It's causing delays. There's also queuing traffic on the November 1 North between Bears Nodia Drive and Rigonia Road. More updates coming up. Do stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Amy Jefter's satirical play A Good House comes to the Market Theatre. It's set in a middle-class gated community somewhere in Joburg. A shack appears on a vacant plot. Watch as the neighborhood's only black couple navigate the true cost of fitting in while their white neighbors reveal their own assumptions about the shack's unseen occupants. Don't miss this biting new South African comedy at the Market Theatre this August. Book now at markettheatre.co.za.
So the other day I get this call from an insurance company. They asked if they could quote me. I said, "Quote me? I can't remember what I said. But if you're still thinking about it, it must have been pretty good." Mom always said I have a way with words. They just put down the phone. I don't get it.
Don't get that insurance. Get Pineapple. It's easy to get and online. Pineapple FSP 48650 is underwritten by Omart Insure Limited, a licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP. T's and C's apply.
Hey, we buy cars. How does it work if I want to sell my car?
We'll drive to your place. You can visit our pods. Even if you don't have space, then at the mall in a parking lot, we've got lots of depots all across the land. Contact We Buy Cars. You're in safe hands. Safe hands.
Wow, that's great.
We Buy Cars, the easiest way to sell your car by far.
702.
What's the question?
For 2,000 Rand in cash, all thanks to Outsurance. Please tell me, what's the question? If the answer is 360 million Rand, Tebucho in Orchards, please tell me, what's the question?
Morning, Brabongs. Today's question is, how much did the brand new movie Spider-Man Brand New Day rake in at the box office?
Yes, indeed. It has smashed all previous box office records for the opening weekend of a film. And of course, its major star, Tom Holland, reprises the role of Spider-Man. And one wonders if this might be the return of the many millions who used to go to the cinema once more. Tom Holland, of course, also revealing he struggles to keep a secret, and that it was he was not told about the death of Tony Stark when they were filming Avengers Endgame, because producers were worried he might spill the beans. Tebogo, let me spill the beans to you and say 2,000 Rand is coming your way, all thanks to Outsurance and 702. Congratulations.
So there was a funeral scene. How many of you were who was at the funeral?
I was at the funeral.
Funeral? Yes,
Yeah.
funeral.
Yeah.
Were you at the funeral, Zendaya?
No.
No.
Zendaya
was not at the
We
funeral.
invited, no.
Jake was not at the funeral.
No.
Jake,
This is
yeah.
how bad it is for me. I was told it was a wedding. No word of a lie. I showed up to the wedding.
Very somber wedding.
Cover your ears. And I was like, where's Robert?
Oh, he did not come to his own funeral.
Tom Holland there on Jimmy Kimmel Live talking about how he was not told about the death of Tony Stark in Avengers Endgame. That, of course, because he struggles to keep secrets. Now, deciding to ignore the GPS may cost you a longer commute, but deciding to stay with your current car insurance could be costing you thousands of rands in savings a year. Without insurance, 37-year-old Lerato saves a mind-blowing 599 Rand a month on her 2026 Kia Sonet. Switch to Outsurance today, and you could be one quote away from having more money in your pocket every month. SMS out to 45142. That's out to 45142. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's, and information online.
Hey guys, this is Robert Marawa, Hollywood Bet's brand ambassador. Playing responsibly is part of the winning strategy. Make smart choices and continue to score. If you or someone that you know needs help, call the South African Responsible Gambling Toll-Free Counseling Line on 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. Hollywood Bet supports responsible gambling. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop.
Looking for secure, modern apartment living in the heart of Johannesburg? Welcome to Jewel City, owned and managed by Itemba Property Management as part of the Diversity Group. This vibrant residential precinct in the Joburg CBD offers quality rental apartments designed for comfortable city living. Choose from a range of well-maintained apartments with convenient access to shops, transport routes, and everything you need close to home. At Jewel City, safety is a priority. The precinct features controlled access, 24-hour security, CCTV monitoring, and visible security teams throughout the neighborhood, helping residents feel more confident as they move around day or night. Discover Jewel City and find your next home with Itemba Property Management. Visit jewelcity.co.za or itembaproperty.co.za for more information.
Peregrine Capital presents Brian Habana's Count to 100.
In my journey to 100, it started with my first cap, then my second, 10th, 50th, 90th, 99th.
Brian Habana, his 100th international test.
You get to 100 one decision at a time. For 28 years, Peregrine Capital has applied that same discipline to turn 1 million Rand into 100 million. Peregrine Capital. Invest in performance. An authorized FSP. Past performance non-indicative of future performance. T's and C's apply.
702.
702. What's gone viral?
With Kabazela.
Let's catch up now with the world of viral content. And yes, he is back. He's feeling a lot better. Kabazela.
Good morning to you, Belle.
You're sounding,
nice to be back.
You're sounding like the very picture of health, I'm relieved to say. So it's great to have you back, Kabazela. Now, guys, listen. Kabazela's back.
I mean, if you were in a Home Affairs office, and you saw that there was, stuff going on here that you didn't like, perhaps somebody coming up to people outside and saying, "Look, I can make your process go quicker. If you pay 150 Rand, we'll put you at the top of the queue. Would you pay it, or would you sit there and say, no, I'm going to wait patiently? So this woman was in a Home Affairs and she noticed what was going on. And she was like, stuff this, I'm going to make a scene here, and I'm going to make this known to everybody sitting inside. And this is what she did.
Guys, guys, listen to me. Hey, listen to me. I was just approached outside to pay 150 Rand. Then I can get within 10 minutes my card, okay? So I'll stand here. My card was first in this box, okay? 2 people has already been held before I've been addressed. They are paying them 150 Rand outside. I'm phoning the police.
Now, I don't know if the police came or what the police would do, but yeah, that's what was happening. And I mean, you read the comments here, Bongles. People saying, well, 150 bucks, that's cheap. I normally pay 500 Rand. So some people are happy to pay the price and just, think that that's the normal daily life of South Africa, right? So I wanted to ask 2 questions to this one. Have you ever had to make a scene in public for a justified reason? And what was it? What was your scene that you had to make? And let's look at corruption in South Africa. What's got better in terms of, old traditional think, oh yeah, that's corruption, that's corrupt, that's so corrupt. Or the other question we could ask is, what has not got better in terms of corruption? It's just got worse in SA.
Oh gosh, what is improving? What are we getting right? Are you finding that there are things you can now do through the system, quote unquote, the right way, without ever being approached to pay a Coca-Cola, as we say euphemistically? Or are you finding it more difficult to navigate that system as far as corruption is concerned? I told you the other day, Kabazela, about... No, let me not even do it. What do you do with story repeaters?
Story repeaters. I mean, how do you handle a story repeater? And you could go maybe to family functions every Saturday or Sunday, and you see the same uncle, the same auntie, or the same friend, and they will tell you the same story. They don't even realize it. Do you just say, yeah, no, thanks, that's a great story? Or do you maybe want to take this guy's advice and use this the next time somebody tells you the same story?
If you deal with someone who always tells the same stories over and over again and forgets that they told you them in the first place, do this little trick. Ask an insanely outlandish question during the story. For example, if someone's talking about their vacation, ask, did you see a bunch of naked people there? So what this does, it'll make it more memorable automatically. And then if they try to tell you that same story again, you just ask that same question. And then they'll get like deja vu, or they'll put it together in their head that they've told you the story before.
Don't think it's based on science, but it might work. So how do you handle it when people tell you the same story over and over again, Bongo?
It depends on who it is and what the story is. My mother is a fantastic storyteller.
Yeah.
And as she gets older, I mean, there's only so many stories one can tell, but she always adds some other detail that she hadn't included before, some nuance, some little twist to the tale. And so even though you've heard the story, in fact, we are often the ones who say, oh, please tell the one about. Please tell the one about, especially when we have perhaps new company at the dinner table. And we'll say, oh, tell the one where this happens, or tell this one when you went there. And we all know the details of the story. So sometimes story repeating is welcome. How do you deal with story repeaters? Let us know.
702
Feedback
with Siamtanda Matiso.
Siamtanda Matiso, I feel as the older member of the team that I'm probably the story repeater.
You are, but you know what, Bongs? Because I realized I was a hypocrite. So I repeat stories, but I don't like it when people repeat stories to me. So I'll give you an example. I used to say that to my friend, and she used to just get angry and be like, "I'll repeat it again." Even with my mom, I'll repeat it. So I used to be spicy and just finish off their sentences, and then I was like, "No,
wow!"
this is just wrong.
As they retell you,
yes, just to show you that I do know the story. I'll repeat it.
I was forever nudging Mutero and saying, "Oh, here we go. He's going to tell the one about."
Yep. Here he goes repeating this.
Yeah, there we go.
Just finish off his sentences. I'm just joking. You asked that question. Who is that person in your life that can't keep a secret? Can name a few in this team, but I won't.
By the way, for anybody who misunderstood my joke with Sifiso Zulu,
yeah,
because he's the news reader, that's what I meant about him not telling or keeping secrets, not because I was trying to be clever.
Anyways, Bongs, many people mentioned a few people in their lives, but I was very surprised and actually loving that they're also mentioning themselves, that they can't keep a secret, but partners, parents, and colleagues came up there. Many people also reacting to your question, if there was a thing that you could, if you had money and you could redecorate your house or renovate it. Damn. And that's because of the news that came out of the state witness that was on Mapisa Ngakula's case, talking about the fact that she spent 1.7 to 1.8 million to renovate and redecorate her house.
I was stunned by the curtains. I mean, how much would you spend on curtains? If the balance is still 200,000?
Yeah, nah.
That's the balance, not the full amount. That's the balance. How fancy are the curtains?
Well,
I wonder if you can open them from Santon with AI, voice command.
Well, people
close curtains, open curtains. It's 8:00.
This is EWN.
Parliament's Impeachment Committee weighs its legal options on getting Ramaphosa to testify, and MPs scrutinize Gayton McKenzie's FIFA World Cup expenses. Good morning, I am Sfiso Zulu. Parliament's Impeachment Committee will today be considering a legal opinion on its right to compel the President to testify in his defense on misconduct charges. It's been a week since the committee resolved to appeal a High Court ruling that has interdicted it from holding public hearings into the conduct of the President in connection with events that unfolded on his Palapala farm in 2020 when US dollars stashed in a couch were stolen. The legal opinion circulated to MPs in preparation for today's meeting suggests that the President can't invoke the criminal law principles to remain silent in a parliamentary setting. Lindsay Dentlinker has more.
An opinion compiled by Parliament's legal advisers grapples with 4 key questions MPs asked them to consider at a previous meeting. Chief among these are whether the President can be compelled to testify at the Section 89 inquiry. The opinion suggests the President would not be treated differently to any other witness called to Parliament to give evidence, and that he should be afforded the opportunity to testify voluntarily, failing which he may be summoned to do so. The committee is further advised against the suggestion that he testifies first to assist in determining the scope of the inquiry, noting that the President does not bear a reverse onus to prove his innocence at the start of proceedings. Furthermore, the legal opinion has shot down a previous suggestion by some MPs that it can't call the panel that compiled the impeachment report to brief it. Ramaphosa has taken that report on judicial review, and Parliament's legal advisers point out that since their mandate ended when they submitted their findings to Parliament in 2022, they can't be compelled to do more than that. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
MPs have slammed Sports Minister Gayton McKenzie and his department for wasting Parliament's time by failing to submit a full report on the 31 million rand spent at the World Cup. They criticised the department for failing to provide them with a detailed financial breakdown of why McKenzie sent a large delegation of 151 people to the global spectacle in the US. McKenzie and the department appeared before the Sports, Arts and Culture Committee yesterday to explain the spending. Babalondense has more.
Gayton McKenzie and his department were supposed to provide details about the millions spent on the World Cup delegation, but MPs were left disappointed when the department provided them with just an overview presentation instead of a detailed report on the spending. Committee Chairperson Joe McGlua.
What is the basic information that we need as a portfolio committee? It is the money, how the money has been spent. We have received a general presentation without finances, and this is not oversight. It is a waste of this committee's time. It is a waste of Parliament's time.
Committee member Lee Potgieter said the money to fund the trip was taken from another department initiative.
The claim has been made in response to questions that this money was taken from every single program within the budget of the department.
The department said the detailed report will be submitted once they've concluded on the final reconciliation of all expenditure for the World Cup. Babalo Ndenze, Eyewitness News.
The investigating Directorate Against Corruption remains under the spotlight at the Madala Commission of Inquiry. IDEC prosecutor Dushanta Ramsamy is expected to return to the commission today to give part of her evidence. She is expected to testify about the 2025 arrest of Crime Intelligence Head Dumsani Khumalo and the unit's Technical Support Services leader Dineo Mukweli. They were arrested after IDEC alleged that Mukweli misrepresented her qualifications when she applied for the senior post. While IDEC maintained Mukweli did not have the required qualifications and experience for the post, the commission has since heard that she was in fact overqualified for it. Alfara Mushwana has more.
IDEC Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions Peter Sirunya testified yesterday that he identified several irregularities in the case against crime intelligence officials. Sirunya says IDEC's docket had no evidence to support the case against crime intelligence head Dumsani Khumalo and the unit's technical support services head Dineo Mukweli. He's told the commission that the first red flag was that a very junior prosecutor had been assigned to lead the case without his knowledge.
At the time, I didn't ask myself many questions on the composition of the team, but it didn't look right to me that a case of this magnitude was on the day of the arrest handled by a junior.
IDEC prosecutor Dushanta Ramsamy is expected to return to the hot seat today. Alpha Ramshwana, Eyewitness News, Pretoria.
Interior designer Nomsa Shabangu will be cross-examined today about cash she allegedly received for renovations at the home of former Defence Minister Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula. Shabangu has been testifying in the Pretoria High Court about the upgrades made at the house in Bruma between 2018 and 2020. Mapisa-Nqakula is facing 12 counts of corruption and one for money laundering for allegedly soliciting 4.5 million rand from defence contractor Nombasa Nchondwa Ndlovu. Khomotso Modise has more.
Interior designer Nomsa Shabangu testified yesterday that between 2018 and 2020, Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula gave her between 1.7 and 1.8 million rand, mostly in cash for furniture and building material. Yesterday, another witness, Emmanuel Moraudzi, who drew the plans for the renovation of the former minister's house, also testified, confirming being paid 70,000 rand in cash. Shabangu claims the former minister still owes her 200,000 rand for her work. She's testified that she would not be hounding Mapisa-Nqakula, who she considers a sister, for the payment. Her cross-examination continues this morning. Khomotso Modise, Eyewitness News at the Pretoria High Court.
Gold is trading at $4,171.54 an ounce. The rand is at 16.35 to the dollar, 22.01 to the pound, 18.86 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $79.03 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we still have got that accident, unfortunately, on the M2 West in the Selby area. It's really causing massive queues coming out of Heidelberg Road. Please try to avoid the scene. While traveling on the N3 North, we still have got roadworks between the Elands Interchange and Van Buren Road.
And in your sport, Banyana beat Burkina Faso 1-0. They'll meet Morocco in the AFCON quarterfinal on Saturday night. FIFA President Gianni Infantino has called senior staff to a crisis meeting in Morocco today. And coach Rassie Rasmus eager to test his back from injury Springboks against Argentina.
A fine day in store for Gauteng. The temperatures will peak at highs between 23 and 24 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour: Parliament's impeachment committee will today be considering a legal opinion on its right to compel the president to testify in his defense on misconduct charges.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Talking of story repeaters, Weren't we talking just the other day, Muteo and Amo, if you recall, about some of the first things you got when you first lived on your own, when you first moved into your first apartment, first home, your first priorities, right, as a younger person? Curtains were one of those grudge purchases. You know, you went to Edgar's or Mr. Price or whatever it was, and you tried to spend the least amount of money on curtains because, again, curtains are those things you grow up as a youngster and they've always been there. I never spent a second of my adolescence thinking about where curtains come from, right? The only time I thought about curtains was when they were taken down for being washed and we had to put them up, right? How much do your curtains have to cost if after years the balance owing is 200,000 Rand? Yeah? What do? Do they hide the sun from Jupiter? Muteo?
So
how much do you know about curtains?
I don't know much. My mom really loved curtains. I didn't know much, but when I had my own place, I mean, all I wanted to do was just cover my windows. It wasn't a hectic exercise of trying to make sure they're linen or the most expensive ones. But since you've been talking curtains this morning, I went on a little search online, and there are really expensive sets of curtains.
Yeah.
Those that are motorized. There's one here that says natural pinch pleated curtains, 108 inches, extra long blackout and thermal insulated noise reducing curtains.
Noise reducing curtains?
Yes, at 76,000 Rand.
Noise reducing?
For one window.
How do the curtains reduce the noise?
Well, you got to pay the big bucks to find out.
Wait, do they reduce the noise from in the room or from outside the room?
Idea.
Noise reduction.
From inside the room?
Probably
or from outside the room?
And they black out the room so you can sleep for as long as you'd like.
Yeah, maybe that's why we all get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, right? We don't have new noise-reducing blackout curtains. What else do they offer?
They're linen. So the material also matters.
I've never thought about what material my curtains
They're
might
also
be.
motorized, so you don't have to stand up and go
press a
close it.
remote.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're willing to pay the big bucks, that's what they come with.
Wow, who knew?
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Taking your calls on 011 8830 702. Your WhatsApp voice notes on 072 702 1702. Kawazela says, have you made a scene in public? And if so, why? And what service can you now say you can more or less get in South Africa without being pressured to bribe? Renewing your driver's license. That pretty much goes seamlessly. Renewing your license disc. That normally goes seamlessly. But I remember people trying to book a driver's license, people trying to pass a driver's license. Does that still go with a lot of pressure to be nice to the uncles who test you, to the aunties who test you? Or do you think, oh, that's pretty straightforward these days? What has your experience been? And what do you do with story repeaters, Muteo?
I love to let people tell their stories. So I won't tell you I've heard it before. I'm like, yeah, what happened? What happened? Because firstly, if you tell a story well, I'm definitely going to let you tell it more than once. But also, I just don't want to be a party pooper, you know?
Have you heard the stories that Amu tells about her husband, Calvin?
In detail.
And we are shocked and surprised.
Every time.
Every single time. Tell us the one about.
Hi, Bongani Kabazela and 702 Landers. So how I deal with repeated stories. Just before the person goes very far, I'll say, oh, I remember you told me. And some do, stop telling the story, but others will repeat it as is. So yeah, it's quite, it's very time consuming to listen to it over and over again. Thank you. Cheers.
Hello, Bongan. With people that repeat the same stories and keep telling you the same story without realizing they've told you the same story. I've realized once you reach the fourth floor, somehow there's a glitch with memory. So I just let them be. Yeah, just let them be and let them tell the story without judgment. Or I will sort of remind them of, like, what's going to happen next, and like, yes, and then this is what happened, and they'll be like, oh, I told you. I've told you the story before. So yeah, it's the fourth floor and the fifth floor. Yeah, Portia from Springview.
Oh, Hayini, Bongani, the storytellers, their heart is in the right place. I always just listen like I'm hearing it for the first time, nod, laugh like I'm hearing it for the first time, because their heart is in the right place. Partly in Soweto.
Their heart is in the right place. And usually there's some detail, particularly for really good storytellers, there's some detail that they've left out that you get to hear a little bit more about. Is it Stephen in Ruadeport? Stephen, good morning.
Good morning, Bongani. How are you?
I'm very well, Stephen. Let's talk curtains. How much do you spend on curtains?
No, so I used to work for a company where we used to install curtains. And at one point in time, we had did a house in Mazda, and the cost was R1 million.
What?
So you could actually still put curtains and could cost that much. I remember we did quite a lot of hotels within Senton and some apartments within Senton on hotels, and it would cost about 200,000 to 500,000 thereabout.
Wait. Just say that again slowly. Curtains that cost R1 million.
Yes.
How big was this home?
It was quite a massive house. It was in an estate. So most of those are motorized curtains. So it was throughout the whole house. Motorized curtains where you could just open them with a remote and all kind of things. But what you're looking at huge, massive curtains that we had to go in with scaffolds just to install them.
Wow. I'm clearly in the wrong business, my friend. Appreciate that call, Stephen. Wow.
Yeah, we did a lot. Even in Senton, some of the hotels, you could charge that much. I mean, I remember one time we did an apartment at Michelangelo Hotel that cost about 200,000.
You see, if you told me that an entire hotel's curtains cost R1 million, I might buy that.
Actually, not in an entire hotel, just an apartment for someone in a hotel.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I'm saying if you had told me that, Hotel X spent R1 million on their curtains, I'd still think that's steep, but I can see it because there'd be many rooms. But if it was one single home, I'm clearly in the wrong business. Stephen. Gosh, we're talking, of course, about some of the details that have emerged in the trial of the former Defense Minister, Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula, including an allegation by her interior decorator who says there's still a balance of 200,000 rand on curtains the former minister has not yet paid for in full, she alleges. And I thought, gosh, how much must they cost if that's still the outstanding balance?
This is 702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa, brought to you by BCX. Built on trusted connectivity, powered by cloud, strengthened by security, enabled by AI.
Good morning, Bongani and the team. I'd like to respond to Kabazela's, have you ever caused a scene for justified reasons? Yes, I have. I was on my way home to visit my mother, and I got stopped in a roadblock. I had my driver's license. I was not drinking. My disc is fine, and this police officer stops me and tells me that, he took a look at my car, and my tires are starting to wear out. Not that they're worn out, they are starting to wear out. Therefore, he's going to write me a ticket. So I said, go ahead, I want to go on with my day. And then he starts saying to me, are you just going to let me write the ticket? This is South Africa, blah, 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 blah. And then he started making advances on me, like, give me your number, then I won't write you the ticket. And I immediately said, who's in charge here? I need to speak to the person who is in charge because this is nonsense. So, yeah, it became a whole thing. And then one of the supervisors or the captains, I don't know how these rankings go, but then he just said, I can, go on with my day. Everything is fine.
Hi, Kabaze and Bongani. The 150 is cheap.
they told me in Edenvale Home Affairs that we normally charge 150, but we look at you, we see that you look like you have money, so we can only accept 800 rands from you. Hey, it was just after COVID, and I was going through a divorce. In fact, I just got my divorce decree, so I went there to change my surname. They don't even know what I'm going through. They look at me, they say, "Hey, you look like you have money, so pay us 800, and then we'll take you to the front. When we just came in the morning, I'll take you through to the people, then it will be done."
Morning, Bongani, and morning to the listeners. I'm very disappointed to hear that about Home Affairs. In the past, let's say 3 months, I've been to 2 Home Affairs offices in Randburg and Centurion, and to be honest with you, they were professional. There was none of that manga business. If you didn't have an appointment, you must know that you're at the back of the line and you will be served when it's your turn. So very disappointing to hear that there's still Home Affairs offices where this is happening, because I've been telling everyone that Home Affairs is such a joy. Thanks, and have a lovely day.
Good morning, Bongani and Kabazela. I used to cause a scene a lot when there was poor service, let's say in a supermarket or in an office. But now I stopped when I realized when you cause a scene, even your fellow customers, the people that you are queuing with, they also look at you strangely, that what's wrong with this one? Who does he think he is? So that's when I stopped, because of now, you'll become the attention now, not the people who are issuing you with poor service. In Pretoria.
And I suppose people who buy into how those systems work, they worry when somebody is going to upset the apple cart, or maybe sometimes they themselves have paid for an undue advantage. And so now when you're causing a scene, trying to disrupt how things are done, well, they might then have to suffer the consequences of it as well. I mean, and the more Home Affairs can automate their systems, and that's what we heard from the Deputy Director General a little earlier on, the more their systems can be automated, the less of this nonsense we will have to deal with.
EWN Traffic.
20 after 8, the CWN Traffic brought to you by Outsurance. SMS out to 45142 now, and you could save on your car insurance. If you don't, you can ask them for 500 Rand. Amo, in Parkmore, why are there delays in that area?
Bongani, there's a major accident on Winnie Mandela Drive right near Santon Drive. They're causing delays right as you approach this Santon Drive turnoff. As a result, Republic Road is heavily backed up due to the scene. So if you're traveling within the Parkmore, Hurlingham areas, please try to avoid this scene. While traveling on the N1 North in the Sunning Hill area, we've got delays between Rivonia Road and the Baklu interchange. There's also queuing traffic on the N3 North, that's between Vincent Chabalala Road and the Baklu interchange. We'll have more updates coming up. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
The Outsurance pointsmen can't help you pack your suitcase, but they can get the traffic flowing smoothly so you get to the airport in time for your flight. The Outsurance pointsmen are real heroes in green and purple, easing traffic congestion and making our lives easier for almost 21 years. Just another way you always get something out. In proud partnership with 702, show them some love online using hashtag #PointsmanLove. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
702, The World View.
With Adam Gilchrist.
Catch up now with news from elsewhere in the world. Adam, we started talking about drone attacks just yesterday, but I've seen the video of this Russian drone targeting a Ukrainian civilian. I'll let you tell it. It's a real horror.
Isn't it amazing and chilling as well? It's like something out of The Running Man, where a drone pursues him through the streets of wherever in America. Anyway, what we see in this video, as shared by President Volodymyr Zelensky, is a street vendor by the name of Yuri. He's a vegetable stall holder, and he's standing by a white van in the city of Kherson. And suddenly a drone appears, and it's sort of only a few meters away. It starts buzzing him. He runs around to the other side of the van. It goes round with him. He runs round the van several times, and the drone keeps following him around. And then finally, it swoops down and explodes, at which point it looks like he's knocked back across the van. He's okay. He apparently escaped with multiple shrapnel wounds, concussion and trauma, and boy, would you be traumatized. But whilst we're saying it's extraordinary, actually, Volodymyr Zelensky, the Ukrainian president, is saying that this has become all too common. These so-called Russian safari attacks, where civilians are deliberately not just followed, targeted, but absolutely tormented by this. As President Zelensky put it when he wrote on Telegram, it's another piece of evidence that Russia has gone mad and their soldiers are actually enjoying killing civilians. It is an extraordinary thing and, as you say, horrifying and chilling.
I mean, there's so many questions to ask about this. Are these drones controlled by human hands, or can you imagine a scenario in which it is in fact AI that's behind these things? And we might also start seeing, Adam, where the drones don't explode, but the fact that they hover, next to you and chase you is enough to scare any civilian, because you don't know if it will, in fact, explode. It's a real, real horror, this. All right, talk to me. French fried and explosive.
Yeah, these wildfires in the south of France, we mentioned them. Most of them have been now contained, if not actually put out. But there was an extra problem, in particular, in the little village of Le Porge. So we're just west of Bordeaux in southern France. And in the course of the fire, which began 10, 12 days ago, the locals who'd been evacuated from Le Porge and had gone to other towns and other villages heard explosions coming from their homes. The mayor of Le Porge, Martial Zaninetti, says it was likened to the sound of the Second World War. Suddenly explosions in the midst of the fire. They thought they might be exploding gas cylinders. In fact, unbeknownst to most, if not everyone in the village, some Second World War munitions had been buried in the ground around the village. They reckon about 400 or so mortar shells, anti-tank shells, grenades, both French and German, dating back to World War II, that were never disposed of properly and literally just buried in the ground. So when the fires came, the heat detonated them, and they had all this extra destruction, therefore, on top of the fires that had already taken out pretty much most of the village anyway. Extraordinary to think that they were there and nobody knew that they were there.
All these years later. Now, Adam, you could spend hours doom scrolling on your phone, or you could get out and find a unique way to find out what's happening in your local ecosystem.
Yeah, how about a bit of bird watching? Apparently, in the UK, this is according to the Royal Society for the Protection of Birds, in the UK, it's the latest in thing for Gen Z. So we're talking under 30s, adults aged 16 to 29. They say there are now 750,000 people aged under 30 who are regularly birding or twitching or bird watching across the UK, and they say that that's a 1,000% increase since 2018. They've carried out an 8-year study of who is doing what. Overall, there's been a big increase in bird watching anyway, which is nice to know. We're getting more in touch maybe with our environment. 47% increase it is in bird watching, but 1,000% amongst Gen Z adults. That is apparently the fastest growing hobby among young adults, apart from making your own jewelry. I guess one is outdoors and one is indoors, but otherwise, why beaks and beads, tweets and tiaras, wings and rings? Why? What? Huh? Anyone care to explain?
Adam Gilchrist with this morning's Worldview.
EWN Business.
Right, now to chirp away about business news, Mateo Kharipe is here back breaking down Nedbank pushing through challenging economy, posting record earnings.
Yeah, Nedbank reporting record first half earnings with headline profits rising to 8.4 billion rand for the 6 months ended in June. The bank also declaring an interim dividend of 10 rand 52 cents per share. Now, excluding its once-off gain from the sale of its EcoBank stake last year, earnings per share increased by around 15%, and then Nedbank has lowered its South African economic growth forecast for 2026 to 1.3%, citing weaker consumer spending and investment. So we're still growing at a snail's pace. Our growth at the bank was boosted by improved business lending, with corporate loans now increasing by 8% and lending to smaller, medium-sized businesses rising by 6%. Looking forward, the bank expects a stronger earnings growth for the rest of the year, also remaining on track on its expansions into East Africa.
And talk to me about the markets in Asia.
Yeah, in Asia this morning, South Korea's Kospi leading gains, rising over 4%, while the small cap Kosdaq advanced 2%. In Japan, the Nikkei was up 3%, and the Topix adding 1.5%. In Australia, the benchmark S&P ASX 200 was up marginally, while in Hong Kong, the Hang Seng was down this morning with mainland Chinese shares. The CSI 300 little changed this morning. In the US overnight, markets there jumping on Tuesday, lifted by solid earnings and comments from Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent that the US and Iran could be closing in on a deal. But of course, we've heard this numerous times. Anyway, that particular comment pushing up the market. The S&P 500 rising 1.8% to close above 7,700 points for the first time. The Dow Jones gaining more than 900 points in another record close for that particular market. On the JSE, things are also looking up, with the JSE All Share up 1,500 points, led by mining shares, which were up more than 2.9%, while banking stocks were up 1.4%. The rand this morning quite strong, 16 rand 36 against the US dollar, 18 rand 87 against the euro, and 22 rand 1 cent against the British pound. Price of gold is up 2% this morning, $4,166 an ounce, or platinum is up 1.9% at $1,773 an ounce. Brent crude up slightly this morning by 0.5% at $78 a barrel. That's your morning business. More analysis from Stephen Grotes later this afternoon.
Time now for your latest eyewitness news. And don't forget, coming up in this next half an hour, we'll tell you about the Royal Countess Zingara if you're looking for something a little different for a night out in Johannesburg. In the meantime, Swisa Zulu, we're talking about corruption. There's still some way to go.
That's right, Bongani. Well, government says the fight against corruption in the health sector is far from over, despite what it describes as significant progress in recovering stolen public money. The anti-corruption message featured prominently during yesterday's official opening of the 1.6 billion rand King Nyabela Hospital in Middelburg, Mpumalanga. President Cyril Ramaphosa was there, and he said that clean governance remains essential if government is to deliver more hospitals and improve public health care. Mongezi reports.
The president's remarks come as the health sector continues to recover from years of alleged corruption, including irregular procurement, fraud, and the misuse of public funds that have delayed service delivery in some parts of the country. While opening the new King Nyabela Hospital, Ramaphosa said government is intensifying its efforts to hold those responsible to account.
We've done much to tackle corruption in health. Stolen funds are being recovered. Alleged perpetrators are being hunted down and prosecuted, but we do need to do more.
Ramaphosa says rooting out corruption will remain central to government's efforts to strengthen the public health system and restore public confidence in state healthcare. Mongezi Koko, Eyewitness News, Middelburg.
A law expert says the city of Cape Town may have moved too soon in its push for Metro Police to be granted investigative powers. Senior researcher at the Dula Omar Institute, Jean Redpath, says the Constitution and current legislation do not clearly provide for such powers. Her comments followed the city's decision to declare intergovernmental disputes with Acting Police Minister Feroz Kachalia over the issue. But she believes Metro Police should be allowed to investigate cases where officers have made the arrests and opened the docket. She also says those cases are currently handed over to the SAPS for further investigation, creating an unnecessary break in the process.
And what we've actually seen in practice is that once things are handed over, the city has to move heaven and earth to keep track of exactly what happens to those cases and exactly how they are processed in the courts. And in practice, we see that they are not properly processed. They tend to be withdrawn and they tend not to be prosecuted.
The Post Office has achieved its first unqualified audit opinion in 6 years, marking a major governance milestone. But while its financial reporting has improved, the Auditor General says the organization's future remains uncertain. Anelita Fandese takes a look.
The state-owned company is still working through its business rescue process and says the unqualified audit is an important milestone, but only one step in its longer journey towards operational and financial sustainability. Acting Chief Executive Fatima Ghani says the outcome restores confidence in the post office's financial reporting after years of governance failures, adding that government, creditors, and business partners can once again rely on its financial statements. However, the improved audit does not mean the post office is out of trouble. The Auditor General has warned of material uncertainty over the entity's ability to continue as an ongoing concern. Anelita Fandese, Eyewitness News.
And Russian missile and drone strikes have killed at least 15 people and wounded dozens more in Kyiv and surrounding regions overnight. This is the latest in a wave of deadly attacks on Ukraine. Kyiv has in recent months urged its allies to supply more US-made Patriot interceptors as Russia steps up its use of ballistic missiles more than 4 years into the full-scale invasion. Kyiv's military administration says the strikes slammed into residential buildings and several warehouses. Both sides have increased long-range attacks in recent weeks, with Russia more than doubling its use of missiles last month. A fine day in store for Gauteng today. The temperatures will peak at highs between 23 and 24 degrees.
And in the traffic, we've got delays on the N1 South. This is just as you approach the Baklu interchange. While traveling on the N1 North, we've got delays between Rivonia Road and the Baklu interchange as well. That's in the Sunning Hill area.
The top story this hour, government says the fight against corruption in the health sector is far from over, despite what it describes as a significant progress in recovering stolen public money.
Checkers brings you better freshness, better choice, and better value every day. On deals like Dr. Utker Ital Pizza Foldover, 310 to 345 grams, any two for 129 Rand. And Baby Soft 2-ply white or supreme quilts toilet rolls, 18-pack, any two for 249 Rand. Plus, get up to 40% back in UCount rewards with your qualifying Standard Bank card. Valid until 10 August, only at Checkers, Checkers Hyper, or shop on 6060.
Running an NPO is challenging, but proving your credibility to donors doesn't have to be. Izinga Assist, South Africa's leading NPO verification platform, follows a rigorous process in awarding your organization with a trusted 5-star rating and official digital certification. Get verified and become visible to thousands of donors by joining Izinga Assist today at izassist.org. Doing good, done better. Proudly supported by Primedia Cares.
Success doesn't wait. It doesn't copy. It doesn't ask permission. It moves. Powered by 125 kilowatts of turbocharged performance, 270 Newton meters of torque, and a 7-speed DCT transmission. Designed with electrically adjustable front seats, wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and an 8-speaker Sony sound system. The new Jetour Dashing. Success looks different from 429,900. Get behind the wheel today.
You're listening to 702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa. Brought to you by BCX. Technology that helps organizations move forward.
Hi.
702. WhatsApp Bongani on 072
702 1702.
Hi, Bongs. It's Advan from Johannesburg here. Yeah, your curtain industry is a multi-billion rand industry that is going very quiet. Nobody knows about it.
Good morning, Bongani, and good morning to your listeners. So just to weigh in as I drive to work around curtains. So I'm busy with a project now, and I had budgeted, you know, when you're thinking, come on, for a whole house, I can look at about 60K for curtains. Oh my God. The quotation came back over 100K. And I was like, what? Just to block the sun out. I'm still trying to figure out how that happens. But yeah, when we started working, it wasn't a big deal. But you realize as you grow up, it's one of those things. You don't go into a house or a unit and you don't have curtains, right? So, but yeah, interesting conversation. Great show as always. Thank you.
What happened to the standard measure for standard window curtains, right? The ones you could get off, you know, and just off the shelf and then just go hang them when you get home. Because also I imagine one of the things you have to consider is how big people's windows are to begin with. But yeah, we all live in different universes, hey?
Morning, Bongs. Causing a scene, yep. That was me about 2 weeks ago. I had the whole Nairobi airport on a standstill because a certain airline decided they were going to downgrade me and move me from my 12 o'clock flight to the next day without even telling me why. I swear I had a psychotic breakdown at that moment because I had the whole airport on a standstill, screaming, kicking, shouting, anybody who cared to listen. So they will tell you there was a South African woman wearing a long black dress that was flying all over the place, kicking and screaming. So yeah, that was me.
You sound proud of it too. Have you caused a scene in a public space, either because of bad service or, as in the case of our What's Gone Viral video, because of attempts to corrupt you?
Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa.
Ish, my mama like repeating stories, yo. And every time when she repeats these stories, I'll keep quiet listening up until the end because they're getting old. Like our parents are old, but yo, and I'll pretend every time as if I'm hearing the story for the first time because they are old. And every time she'll tell that story, she'll tell it with excitement, and she likes telling this story about a thief that once jumped over the spiked fence in order to go and steal, and then on their way out they were seen and they were chased out. That spiked fence ripped off their finger, and they even ran away without their finger, with their finger still left on that spiked fence and blood on the spiked fence. She likes repeating that story every time, and I pretend it's the first time.
Yo, I have to just come in there. My cousin Tulamo, I have to name and shame my brother. Witikingi, he is a hectic storyteller. And the thing is, even if you interrupt the story, right? And then you tell him, but you've told me this. And you sit there, you're like, no, but boy, like you've told me this. He will still continue because he has to land. He has to make that point. And I love my dude. And I've actually accepted it. Hori, you know what? I actually stopped interrupting him because nothing works, right? Until he lands. You have to let him land the point and tell you about the story. And then once he's done that, then we can move on to stories that we haven't heard. But I love the guy. Thank you for this. Hey, Kabazela. Kutlano from Ellen's Neck.
You know the thing about real gossips and repeat storytellers, right? Story repeaters, is when you've told someone the story and they forget you were the one who told them. And they say, Cindy, have you heard about? And Cindy just shakes her head saying, but I told you this yesterday.
EWN Sport.
Almost like that. You told her a story 2 weeks ago, and she comes to you 2 weeks later. She says, Cindy, have you heard this? You're like, I know, but I told you that story.
She is, but I appreciate it because she does let me know what other people have also said 2 weeks ago.
Ooh.
I love it. I absolutely love working with Amo, I promise you.
Now, you didn't tell us this an hour ago.
I think I
Banyana? See what I did there?
So sometimes actually that does happen where I will read something at 6 o'clock and 7 o'clock and then I'll read it at 8 and everybody in the studio will look at me shocked and I'll be like, oh, you weren't paying attention earlier. But it's totally fine because I'm here. I'm on repeat. Banyana will play Morocco in the WAFCON quarterfinal on Saturday night. They beat Burkina Faso 1-0 to finish second in Group B behind Ivory Coast, who did them the favour by beating Tanzania 2-1. Banyana's goal scored in the 21st minute from Tembi Khatlana.
It was a really great team effort. I think in the history of South African football, this team always comes back to perform, and we knew how much it was important for us to first get this victory, and then we'll see everything that comes from it.
FIFA President Gianni Infantino Tino's feeling the pressure from those calling for him to step down. He's called a crisis meeting with his senior staff today. Infantino felt the backlash when he tried to create a separate company within FIFA to commercialize and operate the World Cup. Springbok coach Rassie Erasmus can't wait to see how ready captains Sekalisi, Eben Etzebeth and Lord Jager are. None of them have played this year due to injury. Also returning after a layoff, Morne van den Berg, Andre Esthuizen, Ethan Hooker and Sasha Feinberg and Ngomazulu, who says he loves playing alongside Kobus Reiner.
I love Kobus, firstly, and I'll never forget the first time we played the All Blacks and I wanted to take a shot at goal from a distance out, and he was the one who pointed at the goal for me, and like that will forever stick out, and that like defines our relationship. You know, he really takes me under his wing, but we're also good buddies. I love that guy, and sharing the field with him at his ripe age of I think 37 or 38, it's brilliant, and it takes a lot of pressure off.
And in tennis, Carlos Alcaraz has withdrawn from the Cincinnati Open as he continues to recover from his wrist injury. Alcaraz has not played since April. And in cricket, the West Indies will resume day 4 on 103 for 6, a lead of only 60 over Pakistan in the second test. Shafiq made 160 as Pakistan posted 387 for the Windies. Warwick has taken 6 wickets.
It's a real tight series, these games.
Yeah.
They seesaw. It's test
Easily.
cricket. It's how it should be.
Just depends on the wicket, right? Cindy Polita, EWN Sport.
Uncertainty is rising, but your business still has to deliver. Production targets need to be met. And when your workforce is out of balance, the cost is immediate. Too many employees? Costs climb. Too few? Productivity drops. Workforce staffing helps businesses stay in control with flexible workforce solutions, deployed within 48 hours nationwide. When demand changes, your workforce can change with it. Visit workforcestaffing.co.za. Stay productive, stay flexible, stay in control.
Your business needs that new cold chain fridge, but do you have the cash to fund it? Before you compromise on the core items your business needs, have you looked at saving on your business insurance? Switch to OUTsurance Business Insurance and you could get a massive 20% discount on your business insurance premium. For pharmacies, convenience stores, restaurants, beauty salons, and all other businesses, visit outsurance.co.za or call 08600 60000 today. OUTsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's, and information online.
Famous for available staff. Famous for knowledgeable staff. Famous for always helping you with a smile. Now with 10 stores across Gauteng and a new branch in the East Rand in September, our expert staff are here to help you with all your hardware needs. Paint, power tools, gardening, pet care and plumbing. Big on stock, strong on service, built on values. Chamberlain, famous for hardware since 1903.
EWN Traffic.
8:45, let's wrap up the morning's roads. Amu?
Well, Bongani, we still have got queuing traffic in the Parkmore area. This is due to an accident right on Winnie Mandela Drive heading towards the Santon Drive exit. About a 20-minute hold up there. Republic Road, as a result, is heavily backed up. While traveling on the Mark 1 North, we've got delays between Corlett Drive and the Grayston Drive off-ramp. That's due to an accident between these 2 points. Please be on the lookout there. While traveling on the N12 West, we've got queuing traffic between Edenville Road and the Kilulis interchange. We'll have more updates at the top of the hour. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Hi, this is Anlia Itzebet, Hollywood Bets brand ambassador. A reminder that you can still shoot for the stars while playing responsibly. If you or someone you know needs help, call the South African Responsible Gambling toll-free counselling line on 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. Hollywood Bet supports responsible gambling. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop.
Smart business decisions save money. Switch to OUTsurance Business Insurance and you could get a massive 20% discount on your business insurance premium. Here's JC from Blonde Hair Studio.
I was with my previous insurer for many years before switching over to OUTsurance Business Insurance. I'm really happy with the premium I'm paying now, and switching was definitely one of the best decisions for my business.
Get a quote to switch and save today. Visit outsurance.co.za or call 08600 60000. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online. Coming up
on the Clement Manya Taylor Show
on 702.
13 minutes before the start of the Clement Manyatela show. He's in the studio. What's on the show between 9 and 12?
Good morning. On the show today, we're going to start with the 702 open line. We'll reflect on the MK party yesterday. Is the former president Jacob Zuma positioning his son, Duduzane Zuma, to take over the MK party? And I'm interested to hear from the MK party supporters if this concerns them at all.
I can see the year 1999.
Mm-hmm.
That's how far back I'm rolling my eyes.
Why? Is he not worth it? Is he not a leader? Yeah. So we'll ask the listeners more interested in the supporters of the MK party. Like
Spaza Sesizwe.
Yes, like what do you make of
Spaza Sesizwe?
Can you imagine if they were running a metro?
I must tell you though, the other consideration and maybe let's give some credit to the ANC.
Why?
Clearly the ANC must, think about how hard it was to rein in Jacob Zuma. If this is what he's doing now to the MKP. Think of the many times he would have probably tried shenanigans none of us ever got to hear about, because at least institutionally the ANC was able to rein him in.
And they were able to rein him in,
right?
On a lot of issues.
As much as we can look back on Nkandla and all the other scandals and think they protected him, but think of how much behind the scenes. We'll probably never find out.
Yeah, what else went on? So that will be on the open line. But at 10 o'clock, we are speaking to the Minister of Finance, Enoch Kotongwana, about the stabilization of the PIC. As you now know, the CEO is back at work following the High Court ruling yesterday that declared his suspension unlawful and invalid. At 10:30, we're in conversation with Liberty about planning for the future. 11 o'clock, we do our Listener's Choice feature, and today we're discussing the legal consequences for people who open false criminal cases, whether it's theft, it's rape, it's assault, kidnapping, you name it. And then we wrap up the show at 11:30 with the sharing space. Quite an interesting story we have today. How open are you about how much lobola you have paid or was paid for you? Should that be a conversation that we have as friends?
Sorry, I'm still stuck at the lobola that was paid for me.
Who knows? Isn't that a ring on your finger?
The fitness ring. Clement Manyatela between 9 and 12.
At Specsavers, we're committed to offering affordable and professional eye care. That's why we're offering 1,500 Rand worth of savings with our winter promotion. Get a free frame up to the value of 1,500 Rand or use the 1,500 Rand on one of our leading vision enhancements, like Climate Eyes, which automatically adapts to changing light. To qualify, simply purchase a comprehensive eye examination and prescription frame and lenses. Affordable eye care, Specsavers. T's and C's apply.
Looking for your next car? From affordable to fuel efficient or spacious, We Buy Cars has the right option for you. Browse over 15,000 vehicles on webuycars.co.za or visit one of their 20 branches nationwide. Plus, they offer finance solutions, insurance, warranties, and more for total peace of mind. Thinking of selling your car? Get an instant offer on webuycars.co.za.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
9 before 9. Now, if you're looking for something a little different for a night out in Joburg, well, this might be it. Imagine stepping into a beautifully decorated vintage tent where dinner, live theatre, acrobatics, music, and a bit of magic all come together in one unforgettable evening. The Royal Countess Zingara has officially arrived at Melrose Arch after a hugely successful run in Cape Town. It's not just a show, it's an immersive experience featuring world-class performers from around the globe, a 4-course meal created by renowned chefs, and an atmosphere that transports you into another world. So what can audiences expect, and why has this production become one of the country's most talked about entertainment experiences? Let's find out from Nikki Ann, who is, of course, the marketing director of the Royal Countess. Nikki Ann joins us on the line. A very good morning to you and welcome to 702 Breakfast.
Good morning, Bongani, and thank you so much for having me on your show today.
All right, so for people who don't know what the Royal Countess Zingara is all about, what can you give us as a brief synopsis?
Bongani, I tell you something, I've been doing this for 25 years and I still battle to try and put it into words what exactly the experience is. But I think if I sum it up, I would say it's a completely transporting experience from the moment you pull up outside the palace walls. So what we've done with this show, we've created this beautiful Moroccan palace in a desert-type landscape. So 3-meter-high walls that people enter through. There's truly nothing quite like it. So when you arrive, you're met with the unexpected. From the imposing palace walls we've built to the red carpet, we've got this amazing runaway bride that is on a 5-meter-high sway pole. Crazy characters in amazing costumes greeting you, and they all set the tone for what's to come. Once you're inside, and I think we'll get onto it a bit later when we talk about the Spiegel Palace, which is the mirrored palace from Belgium. It's honestly just a beautiful, immersive experience. The ceiling is lined with velvet, beautiful stained glass windows, and the theatre of dreams, as we call it, just invites you into this environment. The actual evening is super atmospheric, a portal to another universe, I would say, that plays on sound, scent, texture, and light that creates the magic. And then, of course, we take our guests through the performance journey that merges amazing acts with great food and spectacle. So I think I've summed it up there.
Wow, you can show us the world shining, shimmering, and splendid, hey?
Absolutely, yes.
The Zingara story is I mean, it has an incredible history. Tell us about when and where it started.
It really does. It actually goes back to 2001. I've been with the company since inception, and we've walked a journey. So we started as a crazy bohemian restaurant in Loop Street in Cape Town in the year 2001. And it was very similar to what we're doing now, but on a much smaller scale. We had dancers weaving in amongst the guests, and we really just created a homely environment within this restaurant, which sadly burnt down in 2006. So we were all left high and dry without a job. The owner had been to Ireland to visit his sister and saw one of these beautiful tents at the Cork Festival. He got hold of the owners of it, and the rest is history. We brought it to South Africa. We reached our first show in 2007 at the Foreshore in Cape Town, and we started touring this product, which we quickly became a little bit of an icon on the entertainment route. We established ourselves. We traded until 2016, and we all got tired and had a break. And 10 years later, we decided to come back together. We've got about 60% of our original staff back with us. So it's truly a remarkable story. We've all stayed together. We've now got grandchildren. We now borrow each other's glasses to read. But we love it, and we absolutely love what we do.
In my introduction, I spoke about world-class performers from around the world who are going to be a part of this. Just describe some of the acts we can experience.
So we do. We really do have from all over the world. We've got an amazing array of performers at the moment. From Cirque du Soleil in Brazil, we've got Juan and Victoria who do an incredible cradle act, similar to a trapeze act. We've got a beautiful woman, Tatiana, from Russia. She does one of only 4 in the world who do this. It's a feather balancing act. It's incredible. I'm going to talk about our boys from England and Sicily now. We've got this amazing hot bathtub act. That's 2 men in a bathtub, and we give our guests an umbrella to make sure they don't get wet. Super sensual and sexy, but just really an ode to the beautiful human form. And then we've got our local performers as well. So we've got aerial acrobats, an amazing 4-piece, 4 people that are singing to us the clarettes. They're from South Africa. And we also have, who do we have else with us? We've got...
I was told there's a new act that's come in.
Yes, that's right. It came in from last week. They are boys from England and Sicily, Johnny and Manuel. They'll be with us for 3 months, and they wowed the patrons in Cape Town. It's just their strength, chemistry, and the sexy tongue-in-cheek bathtub act that they are in a bathtub and they go up into the air. It's a hot favorite of the production. They're really incredible.
And then, of course, the food.
That food. We have been serving the famous chocolate chili filet for 25 years, Bongani, and people just love it. So I think, it centers around that, but the guests enjoy a 4-course, very decadent dinner, that the courses of the food are served in between the acts. So the whole evening plays out as a completely immersive experience of both food and theatre. And what you can expect is a meze platter on arrival, which is an assortment of beautiful Mediterranean menu items. And then we go on to a handmade pasta dish. It changes every week. And then, of course, the chocolate chili fillet alongside a choice of beautiful Norwegian salmon, a vegetarian option, and a lamb shank. And then we round it off with a 3-part dessert at the end of the evening. So it's really, I can never get past the pasta dish. Actually, I'm already full. But the dinner is it's world-class dinner.
I mean, as I'm talking to you, I'm thinking, obviously, ordinary folk can go and book seats and just go and enjoy themselves for an evening out. But it also sounds like the perfect idea for a corporate booking. So in other words, if you're looking for an idea for, a year-end function, or just you want to reward your team members, this is the kind of show you might want to take them out to.
Definitely. We have many, many corporates who join us. And I think the selling point on the corporate is that we literally do everything for you. They don't need to worry about a thing. So we can offer our corporates a complete house to themselves, where we can incorporate speeches or thank yous or awards, or they can just come as part of the rest of the public. We do many, many corporate celebrations. It's not only for corporates. It's if you're celebrating a birthday, an anniversary, whatever the case may be, it's a perfect celebration venue because of just how incredibly immersive it is. You honestly feel like you're entering a different world when you come to us. And I think our big drive with Zingara and what we're doing is to give people that feeling of inclusion and just a feeling of escaping the world for a night. There's a lot going on at the moment in the world, and we are focusing on that spirit of togetherness, of celebration of life. It really is that. That's what we're trying to drive home when you come to an evening with us.
It sounds like a fantastic escape. You get a welcome drink, a 4-course feast, and of course this full Zingara show experience. Nikki Ann, if people want to find more information, book tickets, where do they go?
They visit our website, which is www.zingara.co.za. Everything is on the website. You can book directly online on the website as well.
And of course, you can also email boxoffice@zingara.co.za. It sounds positively delicious. Nikki Ann is the marketing director of the Royal Countess Zingara. It's on at Melrose Arch.
702.
More than a radio station.
Let's walk the talk.
And that brings us to the end of this edition of 702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa, brought to you by BCX, connecting cloud, telecom business, connectivity, AI, and more to help organizations reduce complexity, improve resilience, and unlock opportunities. It's 9 o'clock.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. Parliament's Impeachment Committee will today be considering a legal opinion on its right to compel President Cyril Ramaphosa to testify in his defense on misconduct charges. It's been a week since the committee resolved to appeal a High Court ruling that has interdicted it from holding public hearings into the conduct of the president in connection with events that unfolded on his Palapala farm in 2020 when US dollars stashed in a couch was stolen. The legal opinion circulated to MPs in preparation for today's meeting suggests that the president can't invoke the